Welcome to my channel. I skip all the R18 chapters to avoid any strikes. Enjoy the adventure. Chapter 21, Getting Acquainted. Third-person POV. Cain held Rizevim's hand and was glaring at him. Cain was expecting him to start a fight here. Rizevim didn't do anything and said calmly like a certain old wizard with a phoenix, "Isn't this breaking the rules, my brother? Who made the rules and what rules? Of course I did, with consulting the others. And why should I care?" Rizevim was making a face like he ate shit. Cain was openly disgracing him. Rizevim really wanted to beat him right now, but even if he tried, he will be the one to lose. This will further harm his reputation. Although it is already harmed by now, it is better to not get beaten by your brother in public. Rizevim snorted and shook Cain's hand off and walked back a little and said, "You should care, brother. You are challenging all the devil lords present here with your action. This was supposed to be a normal event to spar, yet you intervened in a fight." Cain didn't give a shit and said, "Didn't ask. Anyways, the winner of this match is you. Satisfied now? Walk away." Rizevim's face was livid. If this was a Xiangxia novel by now, Rizevim would have coughed 3 liters of blood while shouting some young master shit. But it is not, and all he could do was glare at Cain like a enraged gorilla. Rizevim was about to do something, but Euclid said something to him through their connection. Rizevim, after hearing, suddenly calmed down and turned away and walked away, but not before leaving a few words. "This time it is your win, Cain. Euclid, the event is over. Show the results." With that, the results were displayed in the hall and Rizevim and his loyal followers exited the hall. Cain ignored the words of his annoying brother and went near Ziera and offered her his hand. Ziera took his hand and lifted herself with his help. Ziera was still weak after completely exhausting her demonic energy reserves. Just as she stood up, she stumbled and fell, but Cain caught her in time. Cain thought no one was seeing them as the others were busy seeing the results, but alas, a voice rang tinged with mischievousness presented itself. "Era, Cain-kun is flirting with Ziera-chan. What a playboy." Hearing that, Ziera blushed and Cain showed no reaction, earning a TCH from Sirafal. Cain ignored and looked at the blushing Ziera. Her face was matching with her hair. Seeing that she had regained her bearings, he realized her and took a step back. "Little bit normal now." Ziera thanked Cain. "Thanks, Cain. I would have been in trouble if you hadn't stepped in." Ajuka raised an eyebrow and made a tense face. What is Ziera thinking, calling the Lucifer heir by his name without any respect? The other Lucifer is already a headache, now she is making another one. Cain also felt she was being too casual, but he ignored it. Beauties get some leeway. He simply replied in a neutral tone. "That is fine, but what you did was foolish. Continuously fighting strong devils is never a good thing until you are strong enough." Saying so, he walked away without waiting for her reply. Neither did he talk to her friends. From the looks of it, they are not in the mood for it either. But he murmured in an inaudible voice, "Strawberry, huh?" Ziera was embarrassed when she heard him say that. It was the smell of her shampoo. But she felt something in her hands. She turned her hand and there was a card in her fist. It was blue card with gold lining and a few words. "One-time summon." She put the card away and talked to her friends, especially Sirafal. She was asking questions about what Cain spoke to her, but Ziera didn't tell her and instead focused on the results. 1 Cain, 2 Rizevim, 3 Ziera, 4 Ajuka, 5 Sirafal, 6 Falbium, 7 Melon, 8 Shilba, 9 Cruzuri, 10 Magdaran, 38 Tierra Botis, 39 Rex Zapar, 40 Olive Oryx. The result was quite unexpected, as the Nobel Devils were ranked higher than the Satan heirs except the Lucifers, but that was understandable. Cain had shown untold amounts of power while Rizevim too had shown a considerable amount. But the other Satan heirs didn't show anything noteworthy. With this, the young devil gathering was coming to an end. The Lucifuge servants were seeing the various heirs and heiresses off in their carriages, while the Satan heirs simply teleported away using their clan circles. Cain also went along with Graphia back to the castle. Rizevim, not getting angry at the gathering, was suspicious. What did Euclid tell him? Cain needed to know the answers to many questions, but there was no answer. And just as he came back, Melissa came and informed him that Gerhard Lucifuge has came and is waiting in the living room. This information shocked Cain. Gerhard didn't came personally until this was important. Cain immediately went toward the living room without changing his clothes. Trivial matters can wait. Cain POV. I entered the living room to find Gerhard sitting there on the couch and drinking some wine. It is weird, he doesn't drink until something serious is going on. I went and sat in front of him. He simply nodded and asked a question which brought a lot of memories, and those were not good ones. "Cain-sama, do you remember the attack at your life when you were only 2 years old?" I went rigid at the mention of that incident. The temperature of the room dropped a few degrees, but I controlled myself and asked with a heavy voice, "Why do you need to talk about it, Gerhard? The ones behind the attack have been found out." The world stopped for me at that moment. For me, his words echoed in my mind, and after that I unconsciously found myself smiling without any restraint. Seeing that Gerhard said, "I won't interfere. Seeing your face even gives me chills." Saying that, he simply put a letter in front of me and went away. But I kept smiling like a madman. There was only one thing stopping me from reading that letter and going off to massacre the bastards. But I kept my calm and my smile suddenly vanished. Only a cold, calculating look on my face was left. They won't get an easy death. It will be painful beyond any sense. I will make them beg for angels and gods to save them. I opened the letter and saw 4 names written on it. Valak, Xenophilus Zagan, Percival Paimon, Hannah Haganetti. I burned those names in my memory and destroyed the letter. These guys will not be the only ones to die. Their entire clan will be eradicated along with them. With that, I started preparing a plan to deal with each one of them. Gerhard POV. Young Lord sure is terrifying. But that smile, it's been a while since I saw it. My master Lucifer Morningstar only showed that smile when he was about to commence a large-scale slaughter. When I saw that smile on young Lord's face, I was prepared to stop him in case he wanted to go and kill the preparators now only. But behind that smile was a cold, calculating monster. Looks like I need not be worried for young Lord's safety. But these old coots seem to have forgotten who I am. Attacking my master's offspring when I am alive. Looks like I need to tell the underworld that the right hand of the Lucifer is still alive and kicking. I will need to make rivers of blood to give a warning to the other fools who may dare attack my young lords. Third-person POV. With Cain now knowing the name of the culprits behind the attack, he was now even more motivated to get stronger. Although he was strong enough to kill the culprits, the politics will restrict him. According to the information he had gathered, all 4 of the devils were quite close to some big devil lords, 2 of them were even close to the Satans. Killing them without a big reason will be problematic, but their clan members not so much. Even if Cain says that they act him, there is no proof, and the Satans will not agree to that either. So if Cain gets enough strength to ignore all the politics and rules, he can murder them in front of everyone and they can't do jack shit about it. As always, might is right in the devil society. Cain made some plans for the future but nothing concrete, as the future is unpredictable, but he had a base outline on how to execute his vengeance. While this was going on, a few days passed and the news of the events of the young devil gathering had circulated through the entire devil society. Many were shocked by the strength shown by Zierra Gremory and her peers, while every common devil was in awe about the Lucifer heir, aka Cain. In the eyes of the common devils, he was unbeatable as he stopped Rizevim. Apparently one of the guys at the party had recorded the entire fights of Cain and spread it in the underworld. Cain had sensed Tierra Botis spying on him but ignored as she was too weak. With that, many people had felt that Cain was going to be the next Lucifer, because to be the Lucifer you must be strongest devil around, and it was clear by the results that Cain was undoubtedly the strongest devil in the upcoming generation. Although in the eyes of the common devils Cain was the next leader, the devil pillars weren't that sure. Just being strong enough is not enough in the devil society, you need to have the brain to back your brawn, or else you will die in your sleep without any reason. Cain POV. I was sitting in the garden when suddenly I felt a light tug at my soul pulling me somewhere. I stood up and told Grafia that I will be going somewhere and I may not come back soon. The card which I had given in the hands of the Gremory was used to summon me at this moment. After informing Grafia, I let myself be pulled by the string that connected me to the card, which was a prototype I had created in my free time for summoning devils. It will be helpful in the future after the Civil War. In the anime, the devils had flyers, so I made a card for myself. With this I might be the first devil to be summoned by a self-made contract, not a ritual which required some sacrifice to activate and summon a random devil. Third-person POV. Sometime before Cain was summoned, the 4 new rookies, or so-called heirs of the houses of Gremory, Citrai, Astaroth, and Glacialobulas, were out for a picnic in the underworld. They were at the border of the demonic forest near the eastern end of the Baal territory. All 4 of them were here to enjoy themselves and get rid of the tension caused by the young devil gathering. Sirafal was plucking flowers and catching butterflies like a children who got summer vacation after a long school session. Falbium was sleeping under the shade of the tree. Ajuka was writing some runes and magic circles on a sheet of paper, while Zierra was sitting under the shade of another tree staring at a beautiful blue card. She was wondering what it will do. It did say one-time summon, but who did it summon, she thought. She was a bit curious that she was given this card by the Lucifer heir. She wanted to know, so she fed her demonic energy to the card. Just as she did that, the card caught fire and burned off with a dark red flame. For a moment Zierra looked stupefied, thinking that she destroyed the card, but the next moment a circle appeared near her on the ground. It was the clan circle of the Lucifer house, and from that circle Cain appeared. Chapter 22, Sudden Adventure. Third-person POV. The place, which was full of various noises, suddenly went quiet and all the 4 heirs were looking at Cain. While Cain was looking at Zierra, Zierra still had her hands in the form of holding a card. Seeing that and their reactions, Cain put 2 and 2 together and figured out. He spoke. Let me guess, you accidentally summoned me. And stared at Zierra. She was again blushing due to the embarrassment. Somehow Cain always found her in such situations. While the other had approached Cain while he was busying watching the blushing Zierra. Wow, Zierra-chan summoned Cain-kun. With Sirafal speaking, Zierra controlled her embarrassment and said, why did you give me a card to summon you? Hearing this, Ajuka and the others were surprised that he gave her a card. As far as they knew, the only way to summon a devil was a sacrificial ritual. Cain replied, well, you pissed off my brother and he can be quite vengeful. I gave you this card so that if he comes after you, I can be summoned and help, but looks like you used up that chance. To that Zierra retorted, I can protect myself from that creep. Cain saw that as a useless talk and replied in a calm manner, yeah sure. While this was going on, Sirafal said, Cain-kun, since Zierra summoned you, she can ask a task to be fulfilled as the rules of the ritual. Cain replied with a nod. Seeing him agree, Sirafal went near Zierra and said something in her ears. Zierra looked reluctant at first, but seeing at Sirafal being persistent, she turned her face towards Cain and said, we were planning to go inside the forest for some training, but this is Baal territory. So I was hoping that you can get me and my friends get a pass to train in the forest. Hearing that, Cain showed a small smile and said, this forest is not Baal territory, it is Satan territory. Hearing that, the 4 rookies made a shocked face. Seeing them like that, Cain explained to them, just because it lies in the Baal territory it doesn't mean it is owned by them. In fact, most of the forests with a large number of demonic beasts are Satan territory. Cain continued, well, I am not in the mood to go back and bring back a official agreement. I can go with you guys making this an official hunt. Hearing that, Seraphal jumped while screaming, yay. In the dense and unforgiving forests of the underworld, 4 devils can be seen fighting and killing the beasts. A 5th devil was walking a little behind them doing nothing. It was like he was enjoying a walk in his garden. You guys have nice teamwork. I think my stupid brother will lose if he fights you all at once. To that, Seraphal said, what about you? Surely even you will lose to our combined strength and teamwork. Cain smirked and said, don't get too confident just because I complimented you guys. I am far stronger. To that, surprisingly, the lazy Falbium replied, don't lie, I doubt even you are strong enough to beat all of us together doing teamwork. What Falbium said was true, that is for most strong people, but unfortunately if Cain was ordinary in any sense then others are just vegetables. Cain didn't reply to that immediately, but he stopped walking and then said calmly, yes, other may not be strong, but I doubt that I will lose to some devils who can't even properly sense danger. With that, numerous dark light chains appeared and pierced through air. At first it seemed Cain missed, but then green blood appeared with various bodies stranded in the air by dark light chains. The 4 were surprised by that they hadn't sensed any of these demonic beats before. If Cain was not here they would have been dead, although if he wasn't here they also wouldn't be able to enter into the forest. Falbium now understood why Cain had such confidence. But Ajuka asked, how did you manage to sense them? Even with my various formulas I was unable to find these demonic beasts. Well, these are special species. Instead of magic they use physical means to hide. You need to have a good sense of smell and instinct as they do not have demonic energy. Ajuka nodded his head and everyone, after being humbled again, went to moving forward with more caution this time. The 5 continued walking inside the forest, but they lost track of distance and wandered outside of devil territory. Except Cain, the other 4 were troubled as Ajuka pointed out that they have been moving around the same place for the past 15 minutes. Seeing that, they were dumbfounded. They tried very hard to figure out the reason but were unable to find it out. In the NZera requested Cain to tell them, any idea what is happening, Cain? Cain smiled a little and simply said, it is strong illusion barrier made by person used to environment like the underworld. So can the great Lord Lucifer break the illusion, making us lowly devils free of our suffering? Seraphal said in an exaggerated manner, making everyone chuckle and reduced the tension within the little group. Cain moved forward and focused his sense inside the illusion barrier. What surprised Cain was that he met with a fierce resistance. There was living being inside the barrier almost as strong as him inside the barrier. Seeing that, Cain attempted to talk to the person inside by projecting his thoughts using his demonic energy directly inside the barrier. Who are you? Cain asked. The response came in a voice of a female. The voice was feeble and trembling but with a hint of arrogance in it. Please do not enter the barrier. I am staying here to heal from my injuries. If you do so I will be forced to retaliate with my life on the line. Cain was surprised because the party inside was a goddess. He was able to figure this out by the divinity imbued in the voice. He predicted that she was a goddess of death or underworld, and by singling out the possibilities of gods who were hurt or weak enough to lose their territory, he figured out that the goddess inside was Ereshkigal. Due to the fact that the Mesopotamian mythology had recently been weakening due to the lack of followers and increase in the church's influence. I need a favor from you in return for not coming inside. Cain said. Why should I do a favor for you? Cain had predicted the reply that would come back, so he said, either you owe me a favor or else we fight. I am almost as strong as you, and with my peers the result is almost decided. There was silence for some time and then the voice said back, fine. After that, Cain withdrew his demonic energy and turned and stared, walking back while signaling the other 4 to fall back as well. Seeing that, they got confused, but Cain told them about the situation, that fighting will be bad for both sides as he can't protect then if he fights seriously with a god of underworld who is willing to die if threatened. With that, the sudden adventure of Cain and friends came to an end. After they came out of the forest, Cain decided that he has spent enough time and said his goodbye to the heirs. After a few days, when Cain, while messing with the teleportation spell, got an ingenious idea. Why not use the dimensional gap as a way to move fast? One needs to only think about the place they want to go in the dimensional gap and it would let them get there. This started in a cautious way, but being a Lucifer he got too arrogant and messed up, leading to him teleporting somewhere desolate with no signs of any life for as far as the eyes can see. In the middle of nowhere, a portal opened and a devil fell out of it. It was Cain. Just as Cain stabilized himself, he heard an arrogant voice boom from above him. Oh, look, a filthy devil. Cain turned his head and saw a person he knew and he spoke. It's Choco Balls. Hearing that, the fallen angle of the stars and one of the current cotters of Grigori got furious and shouted, my name is Cockabile, you ugly bat. Cain, knowing him from his knowledge of the DxD anime, thought although he was beaten by the main cast, that was due to him being weak as Starda beat the ever-living shit out of him along with his power. He can be a great punching bag for me. Just as Cain was about to say something, he saw another few dozen lower-ranked fallen angel Apper just behind Cockabile. Is he going on a war or some shit? Why does he need these many fallen? With that, Cain spoke, sorry Cockabile. My tongue slipped. With that, Cockabile lost it and attacked Cain with the intent to kill him. Die, you vermin. Cockabile launched spears made up of light. Seeing that, Cain thought, playing with light in front of me, what a moron. In return, Cain made twice the number of dark light spears and launched them at even greater speed at Cockabile. All the spears of Cockabile were destroyed and one of the spears of the Cain grazed the fallen cotter's cheek, but he was not focusing on that wound but on the person that delivered that wound. You are the son of that damned cocky Lucifer. Cain in return smirked and said, "Are you trembling after learning of my lineage?" Saying that, Cain unfurled his wings and flew towards Cockabile and created a sword of dark light. In return, Cockabile also created a sword of light and clashed with Cain. The other fallen angels had long since moved far away, as none of them were strong enough to withstand the clash of two beings of the legends. Just the clash from them was able to lay waste to the entire ecosystem in a radius of 5 kilometers from the point of impact, like an earthquake of untold magnitude. In the middle of all this, Cain was smirking while Cockabile was making a shocked face. He is equal to a cotter at such a young age. If allowed to live longer, he will be a monster. I cannot allow him to live. Cockabile made up his mind about Cain, while Cain very happy. Finally someone on my level who I can fight without any holding back. Saying that, Cain flew back and stretched out his hand and a scythe appeared. Cain caught the scythe and twirled it around and positioned the handle on his neck. He appeared like a grim reaper, of course without the dark theme. But the scythe had a different effect on the fallen angels. All of them went deathly quiet at its appearance and were shocked. Cockabile for the second time stammered and said with a shaky voice that, if the last time he was shocked, this time he was visibly scared. That is his scythe. Why do you have it? No, this can't be. I will kill you before you can realize and use that weapon to its full potential. This time Cain was shocked. The fuck is he talking about? Is this scythe supposed to be some big shot weapon or what? I found it lying in my basement getting rusted and it looked cool, so I took it out. Cain looked at the scythe. It was quite ordinary looking with a long black handle and an black and red blade. It also had some extensions and small circular blade at the other end. Cockabile rushed at Cain at twice the ferocity, intent on killing him here. Cain also welcomed it as he needed a life or death battle to hone his skills further. Poor Cockabile, he will die of high blood pressure if he could hear that Cain was using him as a skill enhancer option. Cockabile used his vast experience and strength as one of the angels who fought in the Great War at the front lines to the fullest, but every one of his attacks was met with an equal or stronger counter by Cain. When Cockabile launched a volley of spears at Cain, the response was an even greater number of spears back. If it was close quarter combat, the scythe was just too big of a problem. Cain's skills with it was dangerously high. In the end, Cockabile gathered all of his energy and created a spear of light big enough to level a middle-sized island. Cockabile didn't stop at that, he created numerous of them. There were 25 of those huge spears, enough to decimate an entire country if positioned correctly. Cain was surprised that his opponent can dish attacks that can level countries, so he responded in kind. Cain created spears of same size with dark light and positioned them at the light spears. The scene looked like Armageddon to the other fallen angles. One of them had told about the situation to Shemze. He was on his way. Cain and Cockabile were staring at each other with seriousness. Both knew that this would be the deciding attack of this fight. They launched the spears. Chapter 23, Dimensional Gap and Demons. Third-person POV. The spears collided, generating immense amounts of energy at the point of impact. For a moment a tiny black hole appeared, but it became unstable and broke down, creating an explosion which cleared all weak life forms in the entire ecosystem of this portion of Underworld. The destruction was the result of two beings capable of destroying countries, bringing out their most destructive attacks. The space was also broken around the collision point. The dust was raised high enough like an atomic bomb was dropped. The smoke cleared and two silhouettes were seen. Cain was still standing while Cockabile was on his knees, bleeding profusely and looking like he was about to die. Well, looks like dark light is stronger than light, Cain said, and reeled a slash from his scythe which reached Cockabile, but the strike didn't reach his head as Cain intended to, but slashed his abdomen. Cain looked at the fallen angel who intervened and saved Cockabile and said, "Birds of the same feather do flock together, I guess." But the blood that the cut brought out touched the scythe. And like the scythe had its own life, reeled humongous amounts of energy. Cain was surprised. Looks like this really is some big hot's weapon. Although Cain was surprised, he directed that energy towards forming a massive scythe is the air behind him. The scythe was giving of a purple sinister aura. It was like death itself was here. Cain swung the scythe, bringing it down like he was the judge. "Limited death," calmly uttered Cain. With his command the scythe stared to slice towards Cockabile and Shemazai. "Well, looks like the new Lucifer is quite strong. Prepare to give your all if you want to survive, Cockabile." With that, Shemazai created a barrier of light. Cockabile also pushed himself and helped in maintaining the barrier. Both prepared for the impact. Shatter. The barrier shattered as the humongous scythe made contact with it, but the barrier also made the scythe lose its shape, barely protecting the two cotters. Cain was still in combat state. He was prepared to fight two 10-winged fallens if necessary. But from his knowledge, Shemazai was a ruler, not a strong combatant, even though he is a cotter. Most probably the two will retreat. Although I lost the chance to increase my skills further in exchange, I managed to awaken a strong weapon. I will consider this as a fair exchange. While Cain was figuring out his gains from the battle and monologuing, Shemazai called out to him, "How about we call this off now, Lucifer's child? Continuing this fight will be harmful to both. I have informed the other cotters before coming." "Yeah, sure. I was just trying my scythe skills and clan trait. It was a fun match. See you crows later." With that, Cain used his newly made teleportation technique, but what he didn't know was that due the fight the space here was unstable. Cain didn't saw as he didn't have space affinity or semi-power. Due to this, he was teleported in a random place inside the dimensional gap. What the actual foo *K? What happened? Cain was feeling very weird. All he was seeing were various colored kaleidoscopic patterns all around him, making him feel weird. How come I am in the dimensional gap and not in my castle? Did I accidentally *CK up the spell? Cain was extremely confused about how he ended up here. If this goes on, I will be lost in the endless space. I need to find an escape from here. With that, Cain once again unfurled his devil wings and stabilized himself. He used the scythe to cut open space by imbuing it with large amounts of demonic energy and escaped in the space he cut off. Cain hoped he will land somewhere habitable enough for him to teleport back. In a desolate land with no vegetation or life, for as far as the eyes can see, a lone figure can be seen walking briskly, almost as if the harsh climate of the place is like every Tuesday to him. Cain, after coming to this place, started walking in a fixed direction, hoping to find a civilization. He could now teleport back to the underworld, but his curiosity got the better of him. Cain thought that the dimensional gap is huge, so maybe, just maybe, there can be other dimensions with sentient life forms. So he increased the scope of his adventure, and here he is walking in the harsh climate without stopping. Arg? Is there really a civilization here, or am I just wasting time? I am not flying as to conserve my energy reserves. On the horizon, Cain saw a settlement which grew into an entire town as he went closer. Cain got excited and started running at extremely fast speed to get there. He had already confirmed that it was not a mirage, as he used magic to confirm the structures. Cain reached near the entrance and saw two weird-looking beings. He can't find any resemblance to any beings from the DxD verse. The two beings had pitch-black body with white lines drawn like tattoos, long nails and two horns on their head, purple hair, and wearing some pants on the lower limbs, otherwise no clothing. A normal person will have a heart attack seeing them, laughing with the ferocious wolf-like teeth. A short line of the same kind was at the entrance. Looks like this is a new race. I need to disguise myself as them to enter. Time to put my devil magic to use. Cain used devil magic to transform into one of the person of the new race. Cain entered the queue and waited for his turn to come. Surprisingly, he was able to understand the language of the beings. Silver tongue coming in clutch, baby. When Cain's turn came, the guards asked, "Name?" Cain answered Lucifer. He said this to check some things, but surprisingly the guard had no reaction. Looks like they don't know anything about outside the dimensional gap. The guard said nothing more and gave Cain a token. The other guard spoke, "As you are a new person, this token is valid for 7 days only. If you cause trouble, death penalty is applicable." Cain was surprised that death penalty will be given for any kind of trouble caused, regardless of the severity. They do look like barbarians, so this kinda makes sense. Cain took the token and nodded his head and went inside the town. After Cain left, the two guards looked at each other and said, "He was not a demon, right?" The other affirmed and went to report to the higher UPS, as the only species residing this world are the demons. Cain was unaware that his disguise has been found out and the higher demons were planning on killing him. He directly went to the library of the town and started reading all the books on the history of the world. Cain was in shock. The history of this world was very old, almost as old as the DxD world. How come this place was undiscovered? Moreover, Cain found that the demons have 7 leaders. Their names were Superbia, Avaricia, Luxuria, Invidia, Gula, Ira, Acedia. Talk about the similarities between demons and devils. Cain, satisfied by his information gathering, went to a tavern in the town to eat and rest for a while. He planned to go back to the underworld and come back and explore this world to increase his strength. Surely there will be strong beasts and people to fight. I can fight all I want without any care, as this is a completely different world. Cain was happy his strength had stopped growing after he reached Satan class, but after coming here he can find a new way to increase his strength. Cain was sitting in the tavern after eating a huge amount of food. He had seen the currency of this place and replicated it using his magic. Devil magic is so versatile. Cain went to the counter to pay his bill. As soon as Cain gave the money, the demon at the counter said, "How was our hospitality, stranger?" "Well, looks like my plan got caught. I enjoyed myself, to be honest. But from the looks of it, this is going to get annoying very soon." Cain was still calm even after he was surrounded alone in an enemy territory. Seeing that, the demon asked, "Why so calm, outsider? Do you think you will be fine?" "It will be alright, after all you guys are quite weak." Saying that, Cain dispelled his transformation and took out his scythe ready for combat. Cain had been cautious even after taking precautions, hence he was always ready to enter into combat at a moment's notice. And the reason for him not teleporting was that the strongest demon in this town was only at ultimate class. The demons lunged at Cain, unable to sense how weak they were in comparison to him. The demons had absolute confidence in their bodies, which were able to lift even mountains if trained, and survive in the dimensional gap with pure body strength. But alas, Cain's scythe was anything but normal. Slice. 3 demons were cut in half in just a single attack. But their upper halves were still showing movement. Wow, you guys have a lot of vitality. But that means you get to suffer more before dying. The demons were unaffected by the scenes created by Cain, which will make normal people dizzy, but kept their assault on him going. But the demons were too weak to cause any meaningful damage to Cain. But the demons have enormous unity. They will keep on fighting till the opponent dies or the entirety of the demons are killed. This made the demons a very strong and fearful races, as until one dwarfed the demons in strength, they will eventually fall to the relentless attack of the tenacious demons. As strong as Cain was, he was not a super devil yet, and that too he was fighting when half spent due the fight with the fallen angels. "Well, I will destroy the town and go back to the underworld." Cain started launching attacks big enough to destroy the town, but every time the attack was taken by a demon on his own body. "Well, you guys sure love your town. But that is none of my concern. I would have left this place peacefully, but you guys just had to be annoying." The demon that was the leader of the town said, "The last time there was an outsider here he ended up killing half of our race for his experiments." Another demon spoke, "This time we will not let some outsider kill our kin." The leader continued, "Since then any outsider has a life or death enmity with our demon race." Well, that seems like a you problem, but there is one major difference between that outsider and me. One demon spoke, "What is that?" Cain completely let go of any restraint on holding back. If they want a life or death battle they will get one. Cain stopped holding back on his sin of wrath. "That guy killed only half, I will make your dem race go extinct." With that, Cain once again created that huge scythe in the air and swung it, claiming hundreds of lives of the demons in a single strike, while simultaneously using dark light to create various weapons like spears, swords, halberd, etc. and launch them. Cain was like a death god here, with no one strong enough to stop the scythe from continuously slaying the demons. Within minutes the entirety of town's demon lay dead at the ground. The streets, the tavern, the houses, everything was destroyed and painted red with the blood of its residents. Cain was flying above the town looking down upon it. His clothes and scythe were dripping with blood, but surprisingly his face was clear of any stain of blood. Well, for the first time I let my sin of wrath let out of control. It was kinda getting frustrating keeping it under control. I can satisfy my sin of lust and pride easily, but wrath I cannot. At least without becoming a ballistic guy who murder anything in sight. Cain dismissed his scythe and looked at the sky, which was eternally orange, just like the eternal purple sky of the underworld. There was a huge spear in the sky pointing at the town. Cain let it fall on the town, completely erasing any sign of civilization being here. Cain changed the terrain of the place by that one attack. Nothing will be able to inhabit the place due to the side effects of dark light. Cain truly made this place uninhabitable. He hadn't done that while fighting Cockabile, but he didn't need to hold back here. He can try all the theories he had and any attack ideas. With that, Cain teleported back to the garden of his castle in Lucifer. He didn't want to take too much risk. He was having less than 10% of his total demonic energy reserves left. Cain was currently being asked a lot of questions by his three maids about what happened. Why was he covered in blood? Was he injured? "I am fine, just had to slaughter some demons." "Don't lie to me, my lord, there is no race such as demons in the world," Melissa said and pouted. "Well, think what you want." Both Melissa and Vanessa went back their duties, seeing that Cain was fine. Seeing that he was alone with Graphia, Cain spoke to her. "Graphia, tomorrow we are going on a date in the human world." Saying that, he walked away, leaving Graphia shocked and blushing. I was postponing her feelings for quite some time. She needs to be taken care for being such a good maid. And here's some new elements in the story. Also, I just have started on the path to the Deo of Shamelessness. So, as I pray, give me unlimited power stones. Chapter 25, Demon's Secret, the World Tree. Third person POV. 3 months had passed by since Cain had taken Graphia on the date in London. After that, Graphia was even more enthusiastic in her work and her devotion towards him also increased. The bond between the three maids had also increased due to them having something to talk about their lord, which is common to all three of them. In this time period, Cain made lot of tours in the demon world and destroyed hundreds of their towns and settlements. But not once had the leaders appeared. He had hoped that they will appear so he can get a good fight, but till now the leaders were absent. Cain had put this time in increasing his arsenal of abilities. Before he used dark light only to create chains, weapons, and huge spears, but he realized he had been only using it superficially. Dark light can be imbued in pretty much anything. It can be combined with all the elements, increasing their abilities to a whole another level. It can be molded in semi-liquid form to create pure beams which eradicate everything in its way. Currently, Cain was in the demon world testing out the dark light beam, or demonic beam as he had named it. The poor demons were made into test subjects by Cain. Due to the demons not having any long-distance communications, the news of someone destroying their towns is not known by many. In the hundreds of towns destroyed by Cain, only few of them had prepared countermeasure, although it hadn't done anything to impede the Lucifer heir. Cain stood at the east portion of this wall and strched out his palm and started concentrating dark light in semi-liquid form. He created a sphere and tried to launch it as a beam. He failed. Why can't I figure it out? While Cain was thinking about the reason of his failure, the sphere made contact with the wall and detonated. Boom! The entire eastern portion of the wall along with half of the town was blown up by that sphere. 2 cries of the demons rang out, cursing Cain. "You monster, how can you do this? Shut up! I am thinking of something, wait there patiently." Jesus, a devil can't even think peacefully, what a demonic bastard. The sudden retort from Cain made the demons stagger. Cain's word made them think that they were in the wrong. But he pushed through it and attacked Cain. But Cain simply slapped him, making him roll over and die due to his entire skull being fractured. "I figured it out. I always think light as a wave, not something solid or liquid, making me miss out on the imagination, and devil magic is all about it. But light is also a particle, so it can have semi-liquid state too. Damn, I was stuck because of basic physics." Yes, Cain was correct. Light can behave as a liquid under certain conditions for a fraction of seconds, not for long times, but the imagination magic of devil kind offsets that problem, allowing light to bend and spiral through objects as a liquid. This allows me to do so much more. I can now mold dark light in any way and into anything. Previously I was restricted to solid and sharp-edged weapons. The potential of dark light is limitless. Cain, happy with his increase in skill, wasted no time in making use of it. He flew high up in the sky and reached the clouds. He made the clouds full of dark light and made it rain. The scene that happened was like hellfire started falling from the sky. The dark light corrupted their thoughts, corroded their skins and sanity, making them feel true despair. Truly it was something only a ruler of hell can do. Holy shit, this is too OP of an AoE ability, better not use it on some crowdy area. Despite massacring millions of demons in the past few months, Cain showed no remorse, staying true to his devility and showing why his title is Lucifer. Cain decided to go and destroy more cities today as a celebration of gaining more insight on dark light when he felt two auras comparable to his own coming towards himself at tremendous speed. So the leaders finally decide to see who is the one massacring the demons. The two demons WHI arrived were vastly different than the other demons Cain had seen thus far. One of the demons had a sickly thin twig-like black body with orange lines instead of white and had 6 horns on his head. The clothing was same except that he had a hunger-filled insane look in his eyes. The other one though was a female demon with a voluptuous body with pink lines on it and 4 horns on the head. She had heart-shaped eyes and was excluding a very seductive aura. Well, I know for a fact that the pink is Luxuria. Oi Gula, this guy is mine to suck dry, don't interfere. So the other one is Gluttony, I guess. Hey handsome guy, wanna have a night with this pretty girl? Well, I tend to follow a rule of no thoughts. With that, Cain took out his scythe and swung it towards Luxuria. She managed to dodge the scythe, albeit a bit awkwardly. Seeing that, Gula said, "You bimbo, this guy is the one who is killing the demons. Prepare to teleport us to the sacred tree. He is very strong. Looks like the gluttony is going to buy time, but too bad I am going this quickly by combining liquid dark hilt with the scythe. You see, outsider, I eat all the time and store up my energy, and when I fight I realce all my energy." Saying that, the demon swelled up to an impressive size, towering Cain as to assert dominance, but he forgot that Cain has the alpha gene. And I didn't what I just wrote, just bear with it. Cain wanted to test the new power of dark light, so he coated his hands with liquid form of it and punched at the stomach of the demon. What happened surprised both Cain and the demons. The punch and passed through Gula's stomach like it was paper. The demon king was only able to react when he felt blood coming out of his mouth. Seeing that, he felt alarmed. The strength of the outsider is too high. In reality, Cain was at the same level as the other two, but dark light made it seem so that he dwarfed them in power. Seeing that, Luxuria was scared. Oh my, this handsome guy I was trying suck is a monster in disguise, I need to run away. The demon queen activated the magic she was preparing, creating a big flash, and when the flash disappeared, nobody was left there. Somewhere in the demon world, a huge all-encompassing tree stood. Its branches covered the sky and its roots the land. It gave of a red shine, and all its leaves were continuously changing its color between TE7 rainbow colors. Its trunk was wide enough that it will take days to circle it even when flying at high speeds. On the tree hanged a single fruit which looked like a globe. The fruit was of rainbow color and looked like it wasn't ripe yet. Near the tree, 3 beings suddenly appeared out of thin air. One of them had a gaping hole in his stomach while the other was sweating very much and was pale. On the other hand, Cain was doing fine other than being a little disoriented at the forced sudden teleportation. The first thing he felt that, I can feel my energy increasing passively when staying here. What is this place? Cain ignored that and focused on the 2 demon leaders in front of him. He planned to eliminate them quickly before more of the demon leaders appear, making it more difficult for him. Cain realized all of his aura and created chains of dark light to bind the demons. The demons evaded the chains, not knowing that it will continue to chase them. Gula, already lethally damaged, was caught by the chains, making him immobile. Luxuria was a ranged attacker. She created a barrier to temporarily avoid the chains and started to chant a spell. These guys need to chant, what a useless spell system. Cain ignored Luxuria and swung his scythe at Gula. The hole in his stomach combined with dark light corroding him from both inside and outside made him unable to resist. Gula's head flew in the sky. Just like that, one of the leaders of the demon world died. The dead body fell near the tree, with some of its blood getting in contact with the roots above the ground. 3 tree shook and its branches opened, revealing a hollow inside. Both Cain and Luxuria were surprised. But soon after that, a branch from the tree appeared, pierced the body of Gula and started sucking its blood. In a few moments, the dead body was shriveled like it had been dead for months. Luxuria was scared, but she steeled herself and went towards the hollow portion, but alas, she was not a good close combat fighter. A branch from the tree came from behind and pierced her brain directly. This made her fall from her flight. Instant death, and just like before, all the blood was sucked by the tree. Cain was now wary of the tree, but he also felt that the tree was something special. He hadn't seen any tree like this. He had only heard about the fabled Yggdrasil in the records, which was in the Nordic pantheon. If his hunch was right, this was a world tree, something capable of creating an entire pantheon if used correctly by the person who has it. I need to take it. It is crucial to my future plans. Making up his mind, Cain also tried to get inside the hollow portion but was met with fierce resistance, but he was experienced and knew what to expect. He expertly dodged the branches and managed to reach inside the tree. What a waste! I was planning on taming Luxuria and making her the sole leader of this world under my control. But she is dead, can't do shit about that. But if this really is the world tree, then this is far more important than a single world. Cain was thinking and came at 2 possibilities. First, the world tree was not known by the demons and they thought of it as just a special tree, and this is the first time it absorbed blood like this. Or second, the demons knew about the tree and what it is, and they did some blood sacrifice to make it grow and create fruits. Now Cain can just wait till the fruit matures and pluck it and eat it, get a seed from it and plant it in the underworld. That is if the demons don't know about the world tree. As Cain was thinking about what to do, the tree closed its trunk and went back to normal, except the 2 dead demons lying at the ground near the tree. Cain was not alarmed. He can still travel back using the dimensional gap. Instead, this provided him a safe house in this world, a place where he can come and plan his stuff. Just a little time later, the other 5 leaders appeared near the tree. Cain sensed the other and was surprised that all of them were stronger than him in energy reserves. My decision to come inside was good. I can't fight these many strong people at once, not knowing about their abilities. Outside the tree, the 5 demons all were astonished. The one who looked the most calm said in an authoritative tone, clearing that he was the leader among the 7 demon leaders. Cain had increased his sense by infusing them with demonic energy to hear what's going on outside. Looks like the world fruit is almost ripe. The demon with 7 horns and violet tattoos said. His statement was affirmed by the others by a sinal nod. This time Gula and Luxuria were the sacrifices. As the 2 were leaders, no more sacrifices are required, right, Superbia? The demon with 5 horns and green tattoos asked. The reply was indeed. But Cain had other plans. He modified his voice using magic to sound old and mysterious and spoke with a booming voice to seem like it was coming from the entire tree. Demons, I need more sacrifices. This much will not do. All the demons present were startled. What, the world tree spoke? Has it gained sentience after all this time? But Cain spoke again. This time the world fruit is extremely potent. It needs more energy to ripe. Superbia stood still for a moment and did some internal thinking and spoke. Fine. How much demon's sacrifice is required? Cain smirked, seeing that the demons had fallen for his trap. Cain continued, pressing on his advantage a lot. Keep on sacrificing every day a town's worth of demons, and within a few decades the fruit will be ripened. Don't be ridiculous, you damn piece of wood. It will make the entire race extinct. The demon with 3 horns and red tattoos said angrily, but Superbia raised his hand. Calm down, Nvidia. It is possible, but what will the fruit do? It will provide unlimited energy and endless potential to whomever gets a bite of it. Cain was exaggerating the fruit to entice the demons, but surprisingly Superbia agreed and said, every year I will come to check the progress of the ripening. If it is not as you speak, I will uproot you. The tone of Superbia was prideful, not even giving respect to a world tree, thought Cain. But Cain continued his charade and said, fine demon, you can check it yourself. Now I must conserve my energy. I will only speak on agreed day annually. Seeing that the negotiations have been completed, the demon leader went back and Cain was laughing his ass off inside the tree. Just like this, using his wit and demons' lack of knowledge, he managed to get them to lower their numbers as well as increase the speed of ripening of the world fruit. Cain also left a branch of the world tree coated in his demonic energy to serve as a beacon, as he needed to teleport here from now on. On the other hand, he felt that from just staying inside the world tree he got passively stronger. This was due to the fact that this world tree was of dark nature. With this discovery, my way to get stronger and my plans for the underworld became even easier than before. Chapter 26, Taking a World Seed. Third-person POV. After Cain had managed to trick the demons into sacrificing themselves by disguising as the world tree, his excursions in the demon realm have been going real smooth. Even if he does nothing, the demons will get less in number by themselves. Although he will have to wait for a long time for that to happen. In the meantime, he was busy training himself with dark light and he got better at it, but he made no shocking discovery like the one in the demon world. Man, this is getting boring. All I do nowadays is train my ass, eat, and then fuck my maids. And sometimes hang out with the 4 anti-Satan guys. Even my training is not getting me any benefits, only my skill level with the scythe has some considerable improvement. Although he went from low Satan class to peak Satan class in the past few years, only his energy reserves had increased. He tried many different things, but all of them required too many conditions. He can't go and challenge some strong gods in this world, and he can't in the demon world due to the leaders actively searching for him. He still destroys some towns to relieve some stress, but even that had become boring for him. And such things had happened in the past 12 years. The demons had been continuously sacrificed at the world tree, and the time that the world fruit ripens has come dangerously close. Today was the day Cain went to end the demon world. He was going to fight the demon leaders, but only the strongest ones, as to help him become a super devil, or least try to reach that level. Unsurtsks and Ajuka reached super devil class just by sitting around in canon. Surtsks couldn't even control his. So it's fair that Cain gets his earlier because he has better potential and trains a lot. Cain, using his demonic energy as a beacon, teleported inside the world tree and waited for today's sacrifice to come. Soon after, a large number of demons were teleported near the tree and killed by the demon leaders. After the tree sucked everyone dry, the leader of the demons, Superbia, spoke. Tree, for the past 12 years we have delivered the sacrifice as you have wanted. Now tell me if the fruit is ready to be plucked and eaten. Only a few dozen towns are left in the entire world. If the fruit is not good enough, say goodbye to your roots, commented Nvidia. The other 3 also nodded in agreement. Cain has also prepared himself for a big battle and spoke. Indeed, you have delivered enough demons. Now the fruit is ready. I just need to transfer my own energy to make it edible. For that process you lot need to transfer a bit of your energy and don't not move until the fruit detaches by itself. Cain had sensed the fruit was ripened, but he wasn't satisfied by that, so he had sliced his palm and sprinkled the blood on the tree roots from the inside. Getting more potent blood invigorated the tree and it went in a frenzy. The demons Ira, Avarisha, and Acedia weren't prepared for the tree to suddenly attack, thus they were unable to dodge the branches, leading to their demise. The tree sucked their blood and energy, making them dry husks of their former selves. Seeing that, Nvidia got angry and screamed, "You cheating piece of log." Just as the demon screamed, Cain came out of the tree with his scythe and looked at the demons, who were livid, and spoke. I am no tree, you numbskulls, I am a devil. How did it feel getting tricked by a devil? Hearing Cain, the dots connected in Superbia's mind and he went into a flashback and saw all of the events in slow-mo. Seeing that Cain moved quickly and swung his scythe at Superbia, Invidia was stood shocked to understand what just happened. But at the last moment, sensing danger to his life, Superbia managed to dodge the blow, but he got a shallow cut at his chest. Seeing that, he was again shocked. You are the one who was destroying our towns before. Hearing that, Invidia lost his rationality and attacked Cain. He was the one cared for the demon race the most. He had vowed to not let any outsider kill them anymore. Cain, sensing that he can't fight the two of them head on, used his brain and once again splattered his blood on the world tree and went near it. The tree didn't attack Cain as he had made his energy signature the same as the tree. This was something he learned during his stay in the tree's hollow. The demons were unable to approach Cain. To make it even worse, Cain went and plucked the world fruit. You bastard, if you dare eat that fruit, I will make sure I rip apart your guts and take it out. Superbia screamed at Cain. But he got ignored. Cain turned towards them and ate the fruit bite by bite. Crunch crunch asterisk. Tastes weird. I can't feel any flavor, but at the same time I can feel that there are all the flavors in my mouth. Weird. Hearing that, Invidia lost it all. He gave up on defending himself and lunged at Cain. Just at that time, the tree lost all of its functions, like it got cut off from its power source. Welp, looks like I gotta fight you guys. Looks like the world tree goes dormant after the fruit is plucked. Cain finished the fruit after dodging Invidia and put the seed in his dimensional pocket, which he had found beforehand attached to the scythe. Now Cain was brimming with energy, so he did what anyone overflowing with energy will do. He went on a rampage. Cain, without any care for his energy reserves, attacked with consecutive dark light weapons and used the scythe to its maximum potential without any restraint. Cain had figured out this ability of scythe a while ago when he was busy experimenting on it to find its various abilities. Oops, I shouldn't zone out when two demons are out for my blood. Cain was still fooling around. After all, he can feel his energy reserves being replenished just as he emptied it. This made him a bit high. The world fruit also made one's consciousness hazy due to vast amount of energy and the power of an entire world inside it. Cain was feeling the side effects of the world fruit. You're mongrel. Finally you decided to enter the fight. I was getting bored here. Cain was acting like a fool. He was busy spamming his attacks and dodging their attacks. His movements were very agile, making Superbia wonder what had happened for him to act like this. He looks like he has lost himself in the power granted by the world fruit. Invidia is keeping him occupied. I can use this opportunity to land a decisive strike. Poor guy, he doesn't know that Cain is planning something way beyond his mind and body can comprehend. Finally, time to surpass the limits of the devil race and break the chains put on me by the heavens system. Time to become a super devil. Cain created a dome of dark light mimicking the structure of graphene, the hardest known metal to mankind. In devil magic, imagination mattered a lot, and for a former human like him, graphene is the strongest known material. He also made a shit ton of magic spells and put them near the periphery of his barrier and made a secondary barrier by stabbing the scythe and using its energy. He had to do it while dodging attacks from Invidia and while Superbia was not interfering, but Cain thought maybe Invidia was planning some big attack. But due to the limitless energy he had, he was able to do it. Don't think blocking will help, you cursed bastard. Invidia roared and continued attacking the barrier, but was met with countless spells. But he managed to plow through them by putting his body on the line, but was unable to touch the dark light barrier due to its corroding and corrupting property. Seeing this, Superbia got anxious. Why did he shut himself in? I can't let him do as he wants. Just a little more and my attack will be ready. While Invidia got even more wild and started increasing his size in order to destroy the sphere, but was unable to so. This will keep them outside for a little while. I need to get my transcendent form before that. With time being a limited thing to a devil like Cain now, he focused on the energy of the world fruit swirling inside him and guided towards the imaginary chains he felt around him. He did this in order to break free of them to reach the super devil class. While Cain was losing his consciousness, Invidia was busy breaking the outer dark light barrier but was unable to. But Superbia had charged his trump card. Behind Superbia, a huge tank-like construct of energy was built with having numerous magic circles in front of the muzzle. Superbia looked coldly at the dome, trying to pierce through it and see Cain's figure. He failed to do so, but he launched his attack. Superbia was confident that this attack will break the barrier and lethally damage Cain. Take this, you fool, Superb cried Cannon. The beam came out of the muzzle and was amplified by the magic circles and moved towards the barrier. Sensing the attack, Invidia moved away and the attack crashed into the barrier. A huge cloud of dust and debris was raised. Cain was not knowing what was going on due to being immersed in his transcendence. He was just about to break the chains when he felt a punch connect to his face, and then he opened his eye to find him flying at a breakneck speed towards a mountain. Cain got imbeed in the mountain. The fuck? They managed to break my barriers. Now I am stuck between the line of Super Devil and Satan class. Though I can still feel the energy inside me. Oh, the world fruit, I need to get my transformation before it runs out. While fighting. To top it off, I can't use my demonic energy as it is not stable to do me being disturbed in between. Just great. A good old fist fight it is. Cain came out of the half-destroyed mountain and engaged in a fist fight with Invidia, whereas Superbia was in a pitiful state. I used my strongest attack and he is still able to fight. Damn it, I can't move due to the backlash from my attack. Cain POV. I don't know how long had passed, but somewhere in between the fight I had began to enjoy myself. I let myself flow with my wrath sin and exchanged punches with Nvidia. The longer the fight went, the better my skills became. Along with that, I could feel my strength increasing. Looks like my transformation hasn't stopped but became slow. I can feel it nearing completion. So far Superbia hasn't interfered. Looks like he ran away or is in a tough situation due to that attack. I must end this battle quickly, as enjoyable it is. Feel it, the flow of the battle. Ignore everything, the only thing that is important is the fight, myself and my opponent. Third person POV. Superbia had finally overcome the backlash and came near where Cain and Nvidia were duking it out. Seeing the fight made him go pale. Cain was overflowing with energy. He was making no useless moves and only focusing on ending this fight quickly. Cain was dismantling the fighting style of Nvidia and wrecking him with strong blows. Nvidia had long lost his consciousness and his body was fighting in total instinct, showing how much his hatred was for Cain. Despite being the personification of wrath, he was the one who felt the most compassion towards his race. Cain had started feeling the chains around him weakening, and in one sudden burst of energy he attempted to break through the limits placed by the heaven system on the devils by the big. A huge pillar of demonic energy was released by Cain which reached sky high. Nvidia lost his arm due to it, but Superbia managed to save him from getting completely annihilated. Looks like this is it, Nvidia. There is no way we can defeat that thing. The pillar vanished and a being very different from Cain stood there. Cain's transformation was successful. He increased in height. His muscles became more defined. He had 8-pack abs. His white hair changed into black which came till little lower than his shoulders, and his red eyes turned purple. He also had 2 horns on his head. His wings had sprouted out and he also gained a tail. IMG. Cain was in ecstasy with the amount of power he had, but he gained control over his sins and stretched out his hand. The scythe which was thrown away due to Superbia's back came to him. Cain looked at the 2 demons in the distance, revealed his teeth and said, "Let's continue our little fight." Although Cain said that he moved quickly than his opponents could perceive and made them into tofu pieces. What a disappointment. Looks like I become too strong in my super devil form. Cain, who was hoping to have a good fight, was let down, but he cheered up and went near the world tree. If I let this be, it may bear a fruit and cause trouble for me if a demon eats it, so better to uproot it. Cain started hacking and slashing at the world tree. Previously he was unable to even damage its branches, but now he was able to cut them easily. Cain coated his scythe with dark light and swung it with all his might, directly cutting through it. But Cain didn't know that the tree will blow up. What the fuck? Cain was only able to haphazardly open a puddle and jump into it, but still faced the explosion, making him unconscious. Sometime later, in an unknown place, Cain was lying in the ground. He had reverted back to his usual form due to the damage he suffered and him not having mastered his super devil transformation. In this place a woman of ethereal beauty appeared, like she was taking a walk in the garden and saw Cain lying. Someone actually came here. I wonder how long has it been? Can't let him die now, can I? Saying that, the woman lifted Cain by creating some shadow constructs and took him with her. Chapter 27, The Night Knows Everything. Cain POV. The last thing I remember was chopping off the world tree and opening a portal. Since then I had lost consciousness and was stuck here in a dark place with nothing to do. Looks like you have succeeded in overcoming your race limitation, child. Who spoke? I was extremely vigilant as I couldn't sense anyone. Moreover, this should be my subconsciousness. There shouldn't be anyone other than me here. Do not fret, child, I bear no harm. Though if you think that you have surpassed your father, you are wrong. So you know my lineage, huh? It's only fair that I know about you too. I probed him, hoping he would humor me. Having even a little information can be important, as they say information is power. And someone who can enter my mind can't be weak. You will find that later. If you truly intend to surpass me and your father, get strong. Though you will have to face me to do so. So until you are qualified to become the Devil Emperor, child. Saying so, the mysterious man vanished, leaving no trace of him being here. But I have some inkling as to who he was. But I can feel myself awakening, so I open my eyes. The first thing I noticed was a royal ceiling. Though not the one at my castle. I could feel myself covered by silk covers. Moreover, I couldn't feel my wound. Looks like someone healed them for me. Whoever found me must have did this. I turned my head to find 2 pairs of curious purple eyes staring at me mischievously. At first I was surprised seeing that I couldn't sense her too. Did I come to some place with overpowered individuals running around like children? Is this Xiangxia? But my greatest shock was from seeing the person herself. She was beauty above any else, truly divine. With black waist-length hair and purple eyes having tranquility and maturity in them. With a face to fight wars. Wearing simple dress which did nothing to hide her feminine body. Black wings on her back and dark aura surrounding her. Combining with her indifferent but curious look, I was mesmerized. IMG. I was sure that she was a goddess. The only thing which remained was to find which one and which pantheon. Third person POV. It has been a day since the goddess had brought Cain in her abode. Since then she healed him, and since then sat near him watching him like he was a new specimen. Some may find her creepy, but for someone who hadn't had any contact with another being, this was a rare chance. Nobody had come to meet her for a millennial. She was starved for interaction, for affection, for warmth. She had even sealed her own divine realm so as to not let Cain escape. That was how lonely the once mighty goddess of Olympus who ruled over the night was. Yes, this was Nyx, one of the primordial gods of the Greek pantheon. So any explanation? Cain said, as to find out the identity of the goddess. You came inside my divine realm unannounced in a half-dead state. I saved your life, you better be grateful for it. Cain was shocked. The explosion of a world tree is no joke. I almost died back there. Ah, thanks for that. I would really like to give my thanks, but I don't know your name. NYX. That was enough to send chills behind Cain's back. She was one of the strongest gods out there in the past. No wonder I wasn't able to sense her. Cain was shocked, but he asked a question to quell his doubts. For someone who was in the top leagues, you don't give off that vibe. What does the term vibe mean? NYX responded, titling her head sideways. She doesn't know modern terms, I guess. Forget that and tell me the answer to my question. After chaos disappeared, all the primordials weakened. Uranus was dead and Gaia was sealed. I also lost my powers. I was somewhat strong, but when the child of Cronus came, he sealed our connection to Mount Athyrus using his authority as the god king. I was weakened and my worshippers were lessening due to various gods around the world representing light and sun. I cut myself from Olympus in order to preserve myself. But that backfired and now I am far weaker than my prime. Wow, that is a lot of history and a tragic story. Cain was thinking about what NYX said and was shocked to figure out that she probably hadn't had any contact outside her realm for a very long time. Cain now got up from the bed and was wanting to go outside but was stopped by NYX. I told you so much about myself, so tell me about yourself too. Cain relented and said, my name is Cain Livian Lucifer, son of the original Lucifer. I am 30 years old. Cain said like a kindergarten child and looked stoically at NYX. She looked him up and down as if sizing him and said, you are quite young but strong. Although I think your middle name should be Livon, not Livian. No, it is Livian. Looks like you do not have the book of Lucifer. I know that your mother was Livon Lilith. What is she talking about? More new info. Looks like I need to find out this book of Lucifer to understand why she is saying my name like that. Let's leave it at that. I want to see your divine realm, so let's go out for a walk. NYX surprisingly agreed to that. Cain also saw her eyes twinkling when he said that. Well, I guess she was quite lonely. You, tell me a story as a compensation for staying inside my realm. A long one lasting for days. Cain sighed and said, yeah sure, let me tell you about the tale of a bunny goddess who lived on the moon and her sons and their descendants. Yes, Cain was telling NYX a famous anime story from his past world. And such due to NYX not wanting to let Cain go in fear that he will not come back, Cain was forced to stay here for more than a week. In this week both had gotten very close due to NYX being foreign to such interactions and Cain simply wanting to build a relationship with her. For Cain, NYX was the first woman he was making effort to get close to in order to build a relationship. All the three maids were practically in love with him already. For Cain, this was a novel experience which he enjoyed quite a bit. Cain had over the week gradually told her about Naruto, while sometimes she told him about the stories about gods and pantheons. Some so old that there were no written or told accounts of them. Cain also gained vast amounts of knowledge about gods and their attitudes. Cain also managed to get some information on divinity. Flashback no jutsu. So NYX, what is divinity? Like, is it like mana, demonic energy, or something different? Hard to explain it clearly, but it is something far different than any other energy. Every god when he ascends has a base amount which differs but that can be raised using sacrifices and faith. Sacrifices give permanent increase while faith is a temporary boost unless the faithful person dies while being a worshipper, then it gives the god permanent increase. Oh, so any sacrifice can do. No, the sacrifice must either be a devotee or a heretic, only those two count. Cain was in deep though and he asked casually, so any ways to counter divinity? To his surprise NYX responded, there aren't many, but if you can lower the faith or make the god doubt their own divinity, it causes a momentary loss of control over it. Flashback over. Today is the day Cain was planning on asking NYX to go. He could force his way out if he really wishes to, but he doesn't want to break the good relation with NYX, so he went to ask her. Hey NYX. NYX was in her garden tending to her black roses with tenderness. Seeing that, Cain decided it was better to postpone it. What it is, Cain? NYX stood up and came near him. She was dangerously close to him. Due to not being in contact with a male for a long time, she didn't know the boundaries. But Cain was uncluttered being the guy he was and asked, any way to make you strong and prolong your life? Why do you ask so? I think using my divine realm I can survive up to a century just fine. You can, but I can't stay here for a century. No, I thought of a way. You need a new source of divine energy to recover, right? I am going to make hell in the future, so when I succeed you can just ditch Olympus and come to my side. NYX looked at Cain like he was seeing at a chimpanzee in a zoo. You know what you said is weird. You are neither strong enough nor do you have the resources to start a pantheon. Cain nodded his head and said, as for strength I can gain that in the near future, and as for the resources I have the best one. Saying so, Cain closed his fist and opened it and a seed radiating the 7 colors appeared. Seeing that, NYX was shocked beyond comparison. Yo, you, that is a world seed. If the news about it gets out, a divine war may start. And you revealed such a thing to me so easily. Cain smiled and said, I trust you NYX. NYX blushed a little hearing that and retorted. So easily? I can easily trap you and get my hands on it. I only know you for a few weeks and you still aren't strong enough. When he heard her, Cain, as if almost waiting for her to say that, transformed into his super devil form, astonishing NYX even more. It took a few moments for NYX to compose herself. Cain was looking at her all the while, making it even more embarrassing for her. After that, NYX spoke, although you have all the resources you still lack strength. Even this form of yours is not strong enough to deal with Hades or Typhoon or the leaders from the Shinto pantheon. So you will stay here and I will help you get stronger. When you get strong enough you can go and make your own pantheon. Cain was expecting that he knew everyone in the Greek pantheon is a nut job, so he has more than one plan to get out of here without fighting. Some of them are quite Greek style also. Cain first told the ridiculous stuff to Nyx, then he showed her hope by showing that seed. Then he showed her trust by telling her that, and finally showed her his strength, making him look like a fated guy to save her. The order was very important as it can affect the way she would see him. Cain truly used his brain here. Now he just needs to wait and the opportunity will come on its own. After all, Greek gods do not have much patience, but maybe Nyx will have more due to her solitude. Graphia and the others will be panicked. This is the first time I am out for this long without informing them. What was supposed to be a quick power-up turned into a long training arc. Well, this is a good thing in itself. With that, a month has passed since Cain laid down his cards. It was morning time according to his clock that he kept in his mind ever since he gained consciousness after he was inside here. Telling it was day or night was hard as it was night all the time. It was to be expected when it is the divine realm of the goddess of night. The divine realms of a god have very high similarity to their divinity. Cain woke up feeling something heavy on his abdomen. He opened his eyes to find Nyx sitting on top of him and looking at him with her eyes filled with love. Only a month had been enough for the goddess to fall in love with Cain due to her loneliness. Still, Cain was calm and acted like a mature person and said to Nyx, "Why are you sitting on top of me while in such revealing dress?" Nyx. Although both of them knew that what this meant. Greek gods and their weird tendencies. Whoever reads ends up with quite the creative imagination. I think I don't need to tell the answer to a Lucifer now, do I? Hearing that, Cain put his hands on her slim waist and pulled her on him, making her grind on his length. Looks like the time has come to have a taste of a divine dish. While Nyx said, suppressing her moans, "You know, when you told me those stories about that ninja and the one about a human with a book to kill, I was surprised." Cain asked without stopping his hands why. Nyx answered to that, "Why? Because the knight is supposed to know everything." Chapter 29, Tides in the Underworld. Third-person POV. Cain was sitting and reading the report written by Graphia in his study, and the things that happened were seriously concerning. The movements of Satan's descendants have grown more turbulent. When he was not in the underworld, Rizevim had shown no interest in the position of the Lucifer, so the other three had declared themselves as the next Satans. They also made an announcement about how they will restart the Great War and win this time. Although they didn't gain much momentum due to the efforts of HAREM and the other lords who care for the devil race as a whole, managed to stop them by putting political pressure. But this was not a permanent measure. Sooner or later the Satans will get hellbent on doing a war. Although that may take a few decades, but for devils that was not much time. The population is still recovering from the war, and the devils always provoke the other factions, lowering our slow-growing population even more. The fertility of the devils was very low as the couples had a single children over the span of multiple centuries. The current devil population is about 3 billion compared to the 10 billion before the Great War. Looking at the result of the Great War, the faction which was in the most beneficial situations are the Fallens. They have their original leader, didn't lose too many of their kin, and managed to win one of the Dragon Emperor corpses. Thankfully Azazel is not a warmonger, or else the situation would be very problematic. These things aside, Cain also noticed the four houses of Zagan, Paimon, Valak, Hajanti were moving very suspiciously. Almost like they wanted a civil war, 2 of them on the anti-Satan side and 2 on the Satan side. Good for me. If the war starts, I can annihilate them without any reason while showing of my strength and establishing my position as the next Lucifer. Cain was kind of getting excited for the civil war. All things aside, looks like he needs to get his super devil form under control if he needs to make sure the civil war goes as he plans. Over the past months, too many lords have been invited in parties and balls. In fact, for devils, time is not a fast thing, so them being this active means something big is going to happen. Cain had already planned on what to do in the civil war. The only variable factor was his nihilistic brother. Surprisingly, he also goes out to the human world for a few months sometimes. But if he decides to support the Satans due to some chance, things would be troublesome, as that would show the underworld that the house of Lucifer is divided. Well, for now he is not interested in this stuff, so Cain can relax, but having a backup plan never hurts. On the other hand, Zakram Baal was trying his hardest to get the Gremory, Astaroth, Glaciolabalas, and Satrai house on the anti-Satan faction. Although they didn't side with the Satans and also didn't listen to them, they still weren't on board with a coup. So Zakram Baal was in a bind as on how to prevent complete extinction of the devils due its foolish leaders. Zakram could have solved this problem by asking Cain, but he thought that Cain was also disinterested in the devil politics like his brother Rizevim. Too bad. Cain was very much interested in leading the underworld. Again, in a darkly lit room, 4 persons sat with satisfied expressions on their face. This time Valak spoke and said, "How close have you gotten to executing the plan?" Hannah answered. The Valafor was easy to sway with his admiration for women. "I can affect his Deshan quite a bit, so I am ready." Hearing that, Valak looked towards Zagan. "I also have gotten close enough to that pompous bastard Renov. I may need a little bit more time. The old coot Barbados is hard to trick." Paimon answered after Zagan. "Try to do it quickly. I have gotten close enough to the Leviathan by my flattery and fearlessness. Try to urge them to flame the civil war. We are lucky that the Lucifers are dumb children, or else we may have had some problems." With that, the true perpetrators of the devil civil war have neared their plans preparation. On the other hand, the Satans in their brains have been making plans of conquering and dominating the world. in their delusion have forgotten about the other factions on the planet. They need a real reality check. The House of Lucifer has been left out on a very important discussion by the other 5 houses of Lucifer. Satan Chia, Agaliaraport, Flirty, Sargatanas, Neberos were unsatisfied with the way the current Lucifers were acting and Gerhard was supporting them. We need to teach the world why are we called the 6 houses of Lucifer. Satan Chia said with a booming voice. Indeed we must. From the ways things are going, a civil war will break out. We will use that coas to eliminate the fools. Flirty said with a smirk. But how? According to Gerhard, both the Lucifer heirs are strong enough to be praised by Gerhard and it almost impossible to get him to praise someone. Agaliaraport said, concerned over the power showed by Cain and Rizevim. Easy, we just need to awaken one of the Malebranch, that will do the trick. Neberos said with a hoarse voice sounding eerie. But those things were sealed by the Satans as they are too strong. We may unleash them on us too. Reason Sargantas. Neberos answered, we will only partially awaken one of the weaker ones and have him give a little bit of his power to one of the younger Satans and have them kill the Lucifers. But what about Lucifer? He will not help nor agree, instead he will slaughter us if he knew about this. At this query of Sargantas, Satanikai said, stop being a pussy. Who's gonna tell him, and by the time he knows it will be too late. With that, another devious plan has been put in motion for the Devil Civil War. All while Cain was unaware that this timeline has altered in many ways from the normal Civil War. This one will be far more vicious than the real one, although the main battles will be still the same. Back to Cain, he had finished reading the report given by Graphia and was very impressed by the details. The Lucifugs really do have very nice information gathering in the underworld. Cain was sure that in a few decades the devil race will be engulfed within the fire of the Civil War. It is an accessory evil. I need to establish my place at the top of the underworld. Cain has made plans for his ascension. But before that, some clans need purging, which he will do gladly during the Civil War. Well, for now I need to act normally and keep on increasing my strength while keeping an eye on my brother and the underworld. I will be the one to have the throne of hell all to myself. Time skip. The Satan descendants Bidliad Beelzebub, Suphami Leviathan, and Damaidasu Asmodeus had made it known that they would claim their parents' throne as Satans and restart the Great War, shocking the other pillars. They did this on the initial argument made by Suphami, who was in turn given this idea by Valak. In a way, the true perpetrators was Valak along with his other 3 accomplaints. Baal and Agars, after hearing that, started to build a coalition to counter the strength of the Satans. Zekram Baal did his best to bring the houses Satrai, Astaroth, Glacia Labalas, and Gremory to their side because of the immense power that the clan heirs possessed, which was said to be equal if not superior to the original Satans. The radical and fast response was due to Hannah and Paimon already making some other house lords aware about this, making this spiral out of control even faster. But the heirs of the houses except Satrai refused to fight due their own reasons. Ziera didn't like wars and death. Ajuka was too busy creating his trump card along with his experiments, and Falbium was too lazy. Only Sirafal willingly participated due to her seeing the suffering of the common devils in her hospitals. The prelude to the war had begun, only the spark was required for all chaos to descend. Cain was sitting and enjoying some of the exotic fruits from the Norse pantheon he had brought. Along with that, he was drinking some really old sake from the Shinto pantheon. This combination is really good. He was truly understanding the woes of the poor. How can they enjoy something like that? But his refreshment came to an abrupt end as Graphia came inside and looked troubled. Cain asked, what happened, Graphia? You don't look good. Graphia replied, I bring bad news, my lord. Cain simply motioned her to continue. The soldiers have committed an indiscriminate massacre in Lucifer. Hearing that, Cain's smile was replaced with a frown. He again asked Graphia to continue. As per the Remaing devils, it was under the order of Melon Beelzebub. Cain asked, he had guts to do that in my territory. Graphia replied, no my lord, the massacre happened in Lord Rizevim's territory, and after learning about he simply ignored it. Cain hearing that got up and ready to go and asked Graphia, where will they be now? My lord, it is not my place to say, but it is not your territory. Yes, but it is Lucifer territory regardless. If Rizevim will not do anything, I will. The Lucifer clan is not something anyone can mess with easily. Saying so, Cain teleported at the place of the massacre and from there started flying at breakneck speed to catch up to the soldiers of the Beelzebub. This might be the trigger to the civil war. After all, Ziera hates innocents being harmed. If she participates, then Ajuka would too. Falbium would follow them after some persuasion. Cain soon reached and saw the soldiers flying back to the Beelzebub territory. Cain increased his speed and reached in front of the soldiers and created a dome of dark light covering the battalion and himself along with a part of the forest above which they were flying. The soldiers panicked when they got trapped, but when they saw Cain they understood what was about to happen. But still the leader stepped forward and asked Cain, why has Lord Lucifer blocked us? Cain looked as if he was seeing a donkey and replied, do I even need to tell you that? Hearing that, the leader got alert, feeling that Cain had come for the stunt they had pulled. Cain without any warning swung his hand, releasing volley of dark light and killed all of the soldiers except one. The last soldier was shivering with fear and was thinking he got lucky. But Cain came near him and said, tell your lord that he can do as please anywhere else. If he fucks around in Lucifer territory, then he will find out what happens when a Lucifer is angry. After that the soldier ran like his life depended on it. Cain returned after doing this, knowing well the repercussions of what he did. Well, I can't join the Satan faction now, not that I wanted to in the first place. Now I just need to get in the coup faction somehow. When he reached back, he ordered Graphia to tell him when the coup leaders assemble for planning, he is planning on giving them a visit. After all, they are planning a rebellion in the underworld. It will be wrong if a Lucifer isn't a part of a rebellion. After that, Cain went back to enjoying his life till this fickle peace lasts. Chapter 30, The Devil Civil War. Third-person POV. In the territory of the Baal clan, many of the devil pillars have gathered in order to form a strong front to oppose the might of the Satans. The leading figure for this movement was Zekram Baal, a strong and respected first-generation devil who fought alongside the Lucifer in the Great War. He was standing at the podium ready to deliver a powerful speech. He spoke with a voice booming with power and charisma. My fellow devil pillars, you all know that the devils have suffered a lot due to the Great War. Many of us lost our family and many pillars got eradicated. After a long war we finally achieved peace, but the descendants of the Satans want to start the war again. Tell me, do you agree? The voices came from the lords with varying intensity but with one common reason. They didn't want the war. Signifying that except a few devils, not all of them are warmongers. Zekram continued his speech, seeing the motivation of the devil lords. I respected the Lucifer, the one called the Morning Star, but I can't put my respect above the well-being of the entire devil race. So to oppose the Satans and their foolish ideals, I have brought forth the strongest devils of our time to help us. Hearing that, Ziera, Ajuka, Seraphal, and Falbium stood up and went to the stage in front of them, realzing their auras, making sure that they give out the message that they are strong. Seeing that many of the lords who secretly had fear felt relieved, in the midst of this one of the devil pillars spoke. I, Renov, provide the full support to the anti-Satan faction. Hearing that, many of the lords expressed their support toward the rebellion. But this was due to Hannah and Valak having the Renov and Valafor pillars say that they support starting a domino effect. One could say that Valak had some brains. The same thing happened on the Satan's side on the urging of Valak and Paimon controlling Barbados. Seeing that he had successfully rallied enough support, Zekram went on to the next important talk. Everyone quit and soon and Zekram again spoke. For this revolution to be a success, we must have a concrete structure for our army, so I want you all to nominate someone for the position of the Supreme Commander. Someone who will be responsible for the entire army and will the top hierarchy of the faction. Zekram was planning on taking that role as he was strong and wise. Although the new generation was stronger, none of them were respected enough to be nominated as one. But alas, at this moment the gate of the hall opened and a single person walked inside without any concern. Cain was walking in the hall like he was going on a walk. No announcement or greeting, just barged in. But even after that no one voiced anything. This was due to him being a Lucifer and being too of being strong. Although they believed he was not the strongest, but still he was one of the strongest around with the most support of the common devils due to his works for them. After reaching the middle of the hall, Cain stopped and said in a low voice, but it still echoed in the hall. May I ask what are so many devil pillars gathered for, and why was I not invited? Hearing that, many of the devil pillars started panicking, thinking that Cain will be angry if he found that they were plotting to rebel against the Satans. After all, he was also a fellow Satan. But Ziera saw through his act and said out loud, why are you being so dramatic? We both know you aren't dumb. So whose side you are on? Hearing that, the devil lords had a neuron activation moment and connected the dots. Finally they were calm again. Cain, seeing that his act was seen through, got serious and said, I am as of now neutral, but please don't, for your sake, do something like the Beelzebub. I will turn out very bad. Hearing that, Ajuka and Seraphal were relived, while Ziera a bit disappointed that he wasn't on their side. But Valafor was very pissed. A new devil threatening me, a first-gen devil. He spoke up, and what if I decide to siege Lucifer? After all, you are Satan, what to say? You won't be a dictator and cause another trouble after this. Just as he said that, the hall got heavier as if gravity was increased. Even Ziera and Ajuka felt a little oppressed. Well, if you do siege Lucifer, I will pray that you somehow die before I get to you, or else I will make the devils cry out if they see you after I am done with you. Valafor and all lords with similar thought were scared shitless by the strength and threats of Cain. Just as Cain took back his aura, many devils relaced their breath, not knowing that they had held it too strong. That was the thought in the minds of Zagan and Hannah. They were second-guessing their chances as of this moment. Saying that, Cain turned around and was about to go, but Ziera called him. She came near him and said, why don't you join the anti-Satan side? You don't act like the other Satans, and your presence will help us greatly. What do I get in return? Hearing that, everyone was silent as they didn't what could appease Cain. But Ziera had a different thought. Hey, do you still have that summoning card? Give one to me. Cain interested in what she will do gave her one. Ziera took the card and burned it right away. You do know that won't do anything, as I am still here, right? Yes. But now you need to grant my wish. So join our side and help us out. Cain smirked and said, you forgot that the summoning is an equal contract. You need to give me something equal value. I will be risking my life fighting, so I want something which can at least pique my amusement. Ziera was thinking about what to offer, but Ajuka and Zekram understood what he wanted. Cain, after seeing that it will take forever if her let her ponder over politics, he came out and said, I want the Supreme Commander position. Hearing that, Zekram cursed, because if Cain wanted that position he will get it. He had Lucifer blood, strength, support from the strong devils and the common devils. Ziera, not thinking much, simply said, fine, you get to be the Supreme Commander. Zekram and the other devil lords were ignored and the decision was made by Ziera. Nobody objected to this either. Ajuka and the other knew how strong and smart Cain was, while other devils lords were too weak and dumb to stand against him. Only Zekrom had the standing, but he was outmatched in everything but experience by Cain. But the most deciding factor was the personal strength of Cain. After all, might makes right in the Devil Society. After getting the position Cain had wanted, he immediately started giving out orders and handing out tasks to the devils present. Ziera was tasked with handling internal attacks within the faction. Zekrom was to help her with that. Both will also be deployed on the battlefield when required. Ajuka was tasked with the technical stuff like weapons and communications. Lord Agars was in second charge after him. Just like Ziera, he also needs to be ready for fighting. Sirafal was made the main battle force of the army due to her ice magic being extremely efficient for killing. She was supported by pretty much every devil pillar capable of fighting, making the army big enough that it reached more than 100 battalions. Each battalion was made up 2 million soldiers. Falbium was tasked with handling the strategies and training of the soldiers, along with all military-related disputes were to be solved by him. Lord Satrai and Gremory will help him with that. Also, all the four were required to immediately go to the battlefield if a Satan was there. Cain was kinda not sure in which side Gerhard will be, so he needs to have a separate person to handle him. Zekrom along with Grafia was given that responsibility, although both are weaker than the right hand of the Lucifer. With that said, Cain was supposed to go if any place was facing too much pressure and help, so he was like the trump card. With that, Cain came back and ordered the soldiers of the Lucifer clan to get ready for the war. Cain found out that Rizevim has been gone from the castle since a few months and hasn't returned. Euclid was gone too. None of his servants know anything. Too suspicious. While he came back, he also sensed Gerhard waiting for him. He went to meet him. Cain straight went to the main topic and asked, "On which side you are, Gerhard?" The reply came short and concise. "The 6 houses of Lucifer are loyal to the Satans, Cain." Cain was surprised. This was the first time Gerhard called him by his name. "Why though? Don't I, the direct son of the Lucifer, have more control over you guys? As my lord said, I am to follow the other Satan's descendants if the situation arises." He said that when he didn't knew about you too, but the houses of Lucifer still decided to be against you. "I can't go against all 5 of them and disobey my lords. You are a foolish man, but that's what makes you so valuable. If I kill all the Satan descendants, then will you join my side?" "Yes." "Then so be it. Let's meet on the battlefield next time, old man. I will send Grafia." "No need, I have already talked to her." With that, Gerhard went back, leaving Cain alone in the living room contemplating the civil war and its consequences. Somewhere else, while Gerhard and Cain were talking. "Yes, this is the place, my lord, where the dormant power of the Satans lay," Flurdy said with a certain tone in his voice. He had brought Melon Beelzebub here to have him inherit a little bit of the Malebrant powers to kill Cain. So this is the power of the Satans. As if a switch was pressed, one of the 12 Malebrant on its eyes and looked at Melon and said, "My name is Barbaricia, the deputy commander of the evil claws. Take my power and show the world terror." Saying that, some kind of energy went inside Melon, and he, feeling the power coursing through him, became high and went to his brother Shulba to show off, while Flurdy went to tell the others that the plan was a success, at least the initial part. What he didn't notice that another Malebrant had awakened. "Why did you do it, Barbaricia? When he loses control over himself and dies, I will use the residual power to awaken myself and you to kill the devils for sealing us Scarmiglione." Nice. Finally the foolish devils will know true fear of the evil claws. Another variation has appeared in the timeline due to Cain. What will it lead to remains to be seen. Not much time had passed since the formation of the anti-Satan rebel faction and its declaration in the underworld. But the Satans had already launched an attack on the Agars territory, hence officially marking the start of the Devil Civil War. The response was also swift, with Sirafal reaching there, making the Satan army retreat. Likewise on the other places, initially the Satans were in the lead, but when any one of the newer Gen Devils joined, they would lose. Although none of the Satans have joined the battle themselves. Chapter 31, Gushan Castle. Ajuka POV. I have always considered myself a genius. Even my friend Ziera was stronger than me, not smarter than me. But my way of seeing the world changed when I first saw him demolishing Sira without even trying. Cain Livian Lucifer was undoubtedly the strongest devil around. Ziera may think she is stronger, but deep down I know she will lose to him. The way he carries himself is scary. No wasteful movements, always observing everything around him, ready to react in a moment's notice. First time I knew it was when he killed those invisible insects. Seeing him made me want to have a trump card strong enough to give him hell. I wanted to control all the phenomena and abilities in the world. My father told me I was a transcendent devil. I only knew the horrors of them when I read about them and finally met them. My father and mother always told me hide my power and not to let the Satan know about it. But all of that went down the drain when Ziera stepped forward to help the Oryx heir, which led to the tournament and all four of us reveling our powers. Maybe this made the Satans feel threatened starting the civil war, or maybe it did not, but I know for sure the devils need to change for surviving. I may not be able to help much in politics and outer affairs as I have no interest in those things, but I will do my best to use my passion and talent to help the devil race. When I awakened my clan trait I was ecstatic, but I only got the formula part and not the seals part. But I was happy. From a young age I had an interest in calculations. This made my demonic energy have a special trait for magic circle creation. My specialization laid in a branch of creation, the stark opposite of my friend Ziera, who was specialized in destruction. After decades of failed formulas, thousands of experiments, I finally managed to reach my goal, the absolute formula. KINGDOMBUILDING formula. It allows me to manipulate the phenomena that occur in the world by using my demonic powers to fill in the calculations of the natural phenomena. By using a specialized magic circle, I am capable of affecting the outside world in various ways. I never ever had the opportunity to use it in combat, but thanks to the civil war and Cain I got this golden opportunity. Although it may be wrong to think of this war as a good thing, my inner mad scientist can't help but be excited at the prospect of using my crystallization of knowledge practically. I stand in front of Tsufami Teriako Leviathan and flying above the retreating armies of the Satans and anti-Satans faction, leaving the already ruined Guzhan castle even more damaged. The Guzhan clan went extinct during the Great War. But now the time has come to fight a Satan descendant. Multiple things are at stake. I must win for my clan, for the devil race, and most importantly for the sake of my calculations. Third-person POV. Just before the attack at the Guzhan castle, Cain had just came back from Nyx's divine realm. She had gotten weaker over the past decades, making Cain hasten his plans for making hell. I also need to put the 6 houses of the Lucifer in place. Though Lucifer can get a pardon, can't really blame Gerhard, and Grafia is my maid too. While Cain was thinking this, Grafia came to him and said in an urgent voice, "My lord, according Falbium, there has been movement by the Satan faction and they have attacked our base at Guzhan castle. It seems that the Leviathan is the one leading it. So finally, after 6 months of back and forth, they decided to get on the offensive. Tell Ajuka to go there and help the soldiers retreat. Also let him decide the fate of the Leviathan." Cain wasn't really worried, although he didn't expect Tsufami to come. In terms of top-tier powerhouses, the anti-Satan faction has the upper hand. As for Ajuka, he was saying about testing his trump card, so he let him go. Let's see how does the current Leviathan fare against the future Beelzebub. After Ajuka was informed of the task by Grafia, he immediately teleported inside the Guzhan camp, which was in chaos. They had heard that the Satans were coming here. They had lost all hope. Ajuka first asked the highest-ranking officers to gather and shut up every soldier by using his aura. After they were calm, he asked about the situation. "Lord Ajuka, we don't even have any Satan-rank devil here. But this position is very important from the strategic point of view. Both Lord Cain and Lord Falbium had said it. Ajuka naturally also knew about it, but he couldn't guarantee that this place will be habitable if he fought here. So he asked them to leave this camp to him and go make a large-scale formation around the Guzhan town. May I ask why, my lord? We should retreat after all. The Leviathan is coming. Leave the Leviathan and the generals to me. Just focus on killing the enemy soldiers." Saying that, Ajuka spread his wings and went high up in the sky, waiting for Tsufami to come to him. The camp leader looked at Ajuka and doubted him, but followed the order regardless. He emptied the camp along with all the good they could have carried in a moment's notice and formed a formation ready for battle at 500 kilometers around the Guzhan town. Ajuka had told them to also stop anyone from interfering in the battle that was about to happen. Ajuka's troops initiated the battle with the Leviathan troops centered around the Guzhan domain. In a few moments, Ajuka killed all of the generals of the opposing army, making the Leviathan enter the battle. Tsufami used her devastating abilities to destroy the troops of Ajuka, but he managed to redirect the attacks, giving the army enough time to retreat to safety and continue their battle with the Leviathan army. "Leviathan, it seems we've come to this point. Are you ready?" Ajuka asked, maintaining his calm demeanor. Tsufami said while smirking arrogantly. "Ready? Astaroth, my power far surpasses yours. This battle will be over before it even begins." "Is that so? You Satans always had quite the ego. But remember, it's not just power that wins battles. Strategy and intellect play a significant role." "Strategy? Intellect? You were the bookish type, I heard, Astaroth. But when it comes to raw power, there's no contest. Raw power can be impressive, but it can also be a double-edged sword if not wielded wisely. My friend is also of the same type. Oh, don't worry, Astaroth. I fully intend to win, and when I do, you'll finally understand who the superior devil is." With that, both the devils got ready and unleashed their auras. Tsufami used her clan trait Sea Serpent of the End to use the water of the nearby lake to create water creatures and attack Ajuka. Ajuka manipulated them using his KINGDOMBUILDING formula and turned them against her own troops, creating chaos. The Leviathan was shocked that her attacks, which were strong enough to kill Ultinare-class devils, were handled with ease by Ajuka. Seeing this, Tsufami got angrier and started using attacks which could drown entire cities. She started using her own demonic powers to create water and use it against Ajuka, but he was still handling without any problem. Due to not having any prior combat experience of fighting someone much stronger, Tsufami burned through her reserves very quickly. Very soon she was grasping for air while Ajuka wasn't even tired. In this entire fight, he had only used his KINGDOMBUILDING formula to take control of Tsufami's water and use it against her and her army. This shows how good of a control he has over his own demonic power and other using his formula. Ajuka turned her water blasts into mist to dissipate them, turned her water beasts back to water and redirected her attacks back to her. Using KINGDOMBUILDING formula, he took control her attacks and calculated to alter them in such a way that the Leviathan can't disable them. "Curse you, lowly Astaroth. How could you be stronger than me, a pure-blooded Satan? Bloodline means nothing if the person who has is not good." Hearing that, Tsufami got angry and her demonic power started going haywire. She transformed into a giant serpent-like dragon that was the true form of the Leviathan, also known as the Serpent of Envy. She started firing gigantic aura beams at Ajuka in her frenzy. Each of those beams was enough to destroy the armies. Multiple of those beams can even completely destroy a country. Tsufami had lost all reason due to her transformation being induced due to rage and not of her own will. Ajuka, using his Kankara formula, turned her attacks on her army, destroying them. He directed the rest beams away, making giant explosion. The craters created were enough to contain water from hundreds of lakes. Seeing that the rampage of the Leviathan will bring great destruction, Ajuka got serious and used his Kankara formula to the limit. Ajuka was not like Zera or Cain, who transformed into their super devil forms. He didn't have one. When he used his Kankara formula to the max, he could control everything under a certain radius regardless of abilities and phenomena. That was his super devil power. In his domain he is the supreme being. He can control the energy of his opponent without his consent. Basically any phenomena and ability inside his domain are his to use with the same proficiency or even higher than the original user, due to Ajuka being smart enough to understand his opponent's power better than them. There are certain exceptions, like someone who had better control, is way stronger, or has a technique to counter it. But regardless, due this outrageous ability, Ajuka has earned the right to be called a transcendent devil. Every natural phenomena in the vicinity of Gujin town stopped. Even Tsufami was unable to move. Only Ajuka was able to. After that, Ajuka created a magic circle and touched Tsufami. Just by that touch she transformed back to her normal form, and fell down to the ground. Ajuka took control of her clam trait and reversed it. As it was his first time he needed to touch, otherwise he can simply do it from far away. Ajuka released his domain and came down to see Tsufami kneeling on the ground with a look of despair and denial on her face. Ajuka, seeing that, he offered her a chance to surrender. But she laughed and said, "Surrender? I will treat it as a livestock for breeding if the first-gen devils get their hands on me. I know how precious my bloodline is. I can personally guarantee that you will treat it rightfully as a prisoner of war. If you behave, you can go back to your position after the civil war is over." She refused with the words, "I, daughter of Leviathan, shall never surrender to the likes of you, you scum," putting her class, reputation, and honor over her own life. Seeing that, Ajuka sighed and replied, "I'm sorry, but the underworld doesn't need you." Saying that, Ajuka pierced the heart of the Leviathan using his pure condensed demonic energy as a sign of respect. This feat was achievable only by a few in the entire devil race, again demonstrating how big of a monster Ajuka is beneath that calm demeanor. Thus the battle at the Gujin castle ended with a win for the anti-Satan faction and a tremendous loss for the Satan faction. The news of the death of the daughter of the Leviathan spread in the underworld quickly, making known that the anti-Satan faction has devils strong enough to contend with the Satan faction. This boosted the morale of the rebel troops to another level, making it even harder for the Satan army to fight evenly with the rebels. All the devil lords congratulated Ajuka, and some even offered a marriage offer. But Ajuka kindly declined all of them politely. He had already known this would happen if he showed his strength. In the other hand, Cain was still easygoing. He had sensed the battle between Ajuka and Tsufami. To think he could have the power to completely shut all phenomena within his domain and cut off space from outside. Even Cain would be in a pinch if he had to fight Ajuka. But he would be fine, as he had near perfect control over his demonic energy, and dark light will win in a long battle due to its effects. And so this stalemate with the rebel faction on the winning side will go on for a while until another Satan joined the battle. For planning the future invasion of Lucifer, which Cain had left after transferring everything from his castle to the wealth using the magic embedded in it to Lilith. Cain had done this as he knew Lucifer will not the capital after the civil war. Cain had called a meeting with the devil pillars and the 4 rookies, as he liked to call them, though that had been in the past. This meeting will decide how to deal with the remaining Satans and the 6 houses of Lucifer, along with the devil pillars that still support the Satan faction. Chapter 32, Attack at Valifor Castle. Read if you want. A Satan's Regret. Tsufami POV. When did I start to become so arrogant, I wonder? I missed the days when I had fun in the human world. In those days I wasn't so weird to dominate the world or win the Great War. But even so, I had my pride as a Leviathan. I couldn't ignore when a fellow Satan was disrespected, along with my daughter Kateria. But alas, my parenting was wrong. Kateria had become an arrogant devil like the other ones. I had another daughter, Livia. She was always the rebellious one, born a few years later. Kateria, she was my child whom I had bore due to my flings with one of the other devil. She had left her home and married a human in Europe. I had kept this a secret from everyone, even about her birth. Even the Lucy Fugs were in the dark about her. But then I heard about her death. She was killed by the townspeople for her being a witch. She didn't even retaliate due to her kindness. When I found about it, I massacred the entire town and erased its existence. This made us devils be on bad terms with the Norse pantheon, but I didn't care. After 15 years I was contacted through the husband of my daughter. I had a granddaughter named Ingvild. I was beyond overjoyed, but that was short-lived. She had contacted the sleeping sickness that had no cure in the world. I brought to the underworld and hid her in my territory, but was only able to see her and not talk to her. My only wish is that she wakes up and has a nice life, unlike me or her mother, and most certainly not like Kateria. Third-person POV. Cain can be seen sitting in his castle, which he had teleported using his special method from Lucifer to Lilith. Cain was planning on making Lucifer a symbolic city after the war and Lilith the advanced capital of hell. The other persons sitting were Lord Agars, Zekram, Zera, Ajuka, Sirafal, Falbium, Graphia, and Lord Phoenix and Lord Vapula. Cain had deemed all of them trustworthy enough. So thanks to Ajuka, we have one less Satan to worry about, and we have been successful in opening a safe path to Lucifer for sieging it. Everyone agreed to it and showed grateful looks to Ajuka. Cain continued. But only one way had been opened, we need at least one more. If one way is blocked by the remaining Satans it will worsen the casualties. Lord Fenix added, indeed our rate of production of Fenix tears is not enough, millions of devils have died already. Zekram continued, the crux of the problem is the devils on the Satan side are fanatic, although we managed to kill the Leviathan the other two are still alive. We need to end this war quickly or many clans will become extinct. Lord Agars also shared his views, we can't even imprison them, they would rather kill themselves than be a prisoner. Cain heard all of them and said, so we need to end this war as quickly as possible. We need a path immediately to Lucifer. Ajuka, you lead on your troops to Lucifer and curb the resistance you find midway. Sirafal, go and reinforce the Valifor castle and open a way from there to Lucifer. Ziera will meet up with you midway after ending the conflict of the other territories. Thus the meeting ended with the decision to end the war quickly. But no plan survives contact with enemy. Damayidisu Asmodus had destroyed the Valifor clan, making it go extinct by the use of his clan trait Star Send Moment. It is a support type ability which boosts the strength of the allies tenfold for a given time, though the side effects make it a trump card for ending battles quickly. By the time Sirafal had reached there and stated battling the Asmodus troops, the one thing Cain had predicted happened. Gerhard Lucifuge joined the battle. Sirafal had to retreat from the battle. Even if Sirafal was strong, Gerhard was in another league. Even glaciers the size of a few kilometers were slashed by him like they were carrots. Cain had ordered Grafia to intercept if this happened, but Cain wasn't in the underworld right now. He was with NYX and there was no way to contact him. Inside the rebel camp, Sirafal can be seen sitting with a pout on her face while Grafia was standing there with her stoic face. Mua, that old man is too strong. I can't do anything to him. Eris Citri, please stop throwing a tantrum like a baby and get ready for the next battle. I will fight my father while you deal with the Asmodus. Lady Ziera will be arriving in about 10 days, so we need to hold them for at least that much time. Grafia, you are no fun. Both of them reached where Asmodus was supposed to be, but they only found an old man waiting for them. Wait, this was a diversion. Both Grafia and Sirafal figured it out, but they still had to face of the strongest devil after the Satans during the Great War. FIA, you have grown splendidly under the guidance of Cain. Show me your progress. And I hope Lady Citri will not disappoint me. Saying that without any warning and soft spot for his daughter, Gerhard slashed his sword at them, making them separate. Father, why did you interfere only now? Using the information about your enemy to your advantage. It isn't a secret that Cain goes somewhere every month. I simply used that. And it is a Lucifug's duty to make sure that such things don't happen. Since then the battle was Gerhard toying with both his daughter and Sirafal, even though both of them were in the Satan class. Gerhard was the devil with the most chance to become a super devil. It wouldn't be wrong to say that if Ziera or Ajuka didn't came, he will keep on holding the entire rebel faction at bay alone. On the other, Cain generally came back in a day or two, but this time he was spending a little more time with NYX. NYX has gotten weaker now, so he can't really *I her like he used to, but he still loves her. So Cain decided to stay when she asked to mend her garden together with him. Cain was feeling off about something, but he ignored that feeling as a fleeting thing. He was devoting himself to NYX for a few days. He had given the anti-Satan faction enough help and strategies to follow. Falbium is a slow, really good with his military tactics, so it should be fine, he thought. But alas, Cain was too much busy in tending the black roses with NYX that he spent 10 days in her realm. After 10 days, Cain finally came back to the underworld to find 2 battles going on at the same time with ridiculous intensity. One in the Elagos territory and one in the Valifor territory. Seeing that, Cain heightened his sense and saw something that surprised him. Flurdy and Agaliaraport were fighting with Falbium and Zekram. I can leave that to them. Zekram wouldn't lose in a battle of wits that easily, and Falbium is strong enough. So the place at which I should be focusing is there. Seriously, just because I left the place for a few days and this shit becomes super crazy. Cain teleported near the fields of the Valifor territory to find Gerhard fighting someone unexpected while protecting Sirafal and Grafia. Isn't that a Malabrink? Why is it out? Not 1 but 2, and the target of the other one is Grafia. Just as Cain figured it out, he instantly accelerated and took out his scythe and blocked the claw of the Malabrink with his scythe. Clang. The sound of the claw and scythe silenced the entire battlefield. While the Malabrink made a surprised expression and said, "There is someone who can block my Barbarichia's attack." Cain, already pissed, said, "Not only block but fucking erase your existence," and kicked him so hard that he got dragged a few kilometers away, leaving scratch marks on the ground, shocking the other Malabrink. "Let's continue, Mr. Barbarichia." A angry Cain spat out. On the other side in the Valifor territory, Ziera was very angry right now. She was fighting Melon Beelzebub, who had taken some power of the Malabrink named as Scarmiglione. He went berserk and had become a giant fly chimera. He was releasing poison all around, strong enough for even Gerhard to be wary. Ziera had almost managed to kill Damaidaso when she was ambushed by Euclid, but she simply defeated him without any problem and sent him back to the Lucifuge camp, thinking that she shouldn't kill him as he is Grafia's brother. But Melon appeared and started to attack while transforming. He also targeted the Satan side. Ziera managed to convince Gerhard to fall back and convinced him that she was going to stop the giant fly chimera. Gerhard understood that. He was already tired from fighting Sirafal and Grafia for over a week, and he also got poisoned by the chimera poison, so he agreed. Ziera went to the west side of Valifor domain as the Chimera was going towards the populated areas. Thus she started battling it in order to destroy it along with his poison. But due to the Malebrunx's power he had, it was very hard to do so. Ziera finally decided to use her true form to erase the fly Chimera along with his poison, thus showing the underworld why she is called a transcendent devil. Near the castle of Eligos clan, the surprise attack by the houses of Flurdi and Agaliara Port was stopped by Zekram and Falbium. Both of them were slightly troubled due to the tricks used by the lords of the house of Flurdi and Agaliara Port. Zekram was able to figure them out due to his vast experience as a first-gen devil, but the same couldn't be said for Falbium. Although he hadn't gotten hit till now, he was needing to change the attribute of his Frosi field between absolute offense and absolute defense. Due to that, he wasn't able to quickly dispatch the opposing troops. Zekram was fighting Flurdi with his masterful use of pod, while Agalarept was using the opponent's soldiers as meat shield if required. This stalemate was going on for a few days already. Falbium simply wanted to tell his army to back off and go all out and kill the two, but that was not allowed by Zekram. He said that was they wanted so that they could trap you, thus continuing the stalemate. Ajuka was busy keeping Lucifer under check, so he wasn't able to come and help anyone. The result of all the current fights will be the deciding the factor of the Devil Civil War. If one side wins both, they win. If they win one and lose one, the stalemate continues. The result solely depends on how fast Cain is able to kill the deputy leader of the evil claws. On the other hand, something very interesting was going on in the treasury of the Lucifer castle. Rizevim was looting it. He had made this plan when he got the gist of the civil war. He knew he couldn't contend with Cain, so he joined hands with the Nebrios and planned on creating a terrorist group and find out what the house of Lucifer was hiding from him. But for that he needed money, and what better than looting your own brother when is he busy fighting some centuries-old genocidal machines. Cain wouldn't let me live peacefully if he knows about this. If I'm alive, he will surely hunt me down. The best way to make sure that he doesn't try to go after me is to die. Let's see how you deal with me this time, Cain. So many things going on at once in the underworld. All of them happening when Cain was out of the underworld. Will he be able to make things go as he planned? These are left for the future. Chapter 33, Attack at Valifor Castle 2. Third-person POV. While Cain was in NYX's divine realm, a lot was going on in the underworld. The battle between Gerhard, Grafia, and Surfall was so big that it made Damaidisa think if they were devils. Seeing that, he retreated while leaving his army and the battlefield to Gerhard. The tension in the battlefield grew as Gerhard Lucifer faced his daughter, Grafia, and her ally Surfall. The air of the underworld trembled with the intensity of their clash. Gerhard gripped his sword, a blade forged in the depths of the underworld, while Grafia and Surfall summoned ice glaciers around them. Gerhard's voice echoed through the frozen landscape. Grafia, my daughter, you've grown stronger since our last encounter. Your ice magic has truly reached insane level. Grafia, determined, responded. I won't let you get in the way of Lord Cain, father, even if it means facing you. Surfall, her eyes gleaming with confidence, added. You won't stand a chance against us, Gerhard Lucifer. The battleground became a place of icy death, which was continuously slashed by Gerhard as ice clashed against the right hand of the Lucifer. Gerhard moved with the grace of a seasoned warrior, parrying and countering the relentless assaults of his daughter and her comrade. In the midst of their battle, Gerhard spoke again. Grafia, why don't you use your clan trait of darkness? You have very good potential. Embrace it, control it, and you'll reach new heights. Grafia, momentarily distracted, questioned, what do you mean, father? I will lose myself if I use it more than this. Surfall was not able to follow up with their conversation. She was totally focused on defeating Gerhard. She wanted this war to end as fast as possible. Gerhard smiled, a mix of pride and sadness in his eyes. It's not about succumbing, my daughter. It's about understanding. Darkness can be a formidable ally when harnessed with control. Seeing that Grafia is unable to understand him, with a swift motion, Gerhard unleashed a wave of dark energy. Grafia felt the resonance with that power in her. The ice glaciers around her intensified, blending with the newfound darkness. Surfall watched in awe as the battlefield transformed. Gerhard was taking control of their ice by encasing it in his darkness. Soon Surfall and Grafia started to fight back to get their control back on the ice, and in the midst of that, Grafia heard her father speak. Grafia, Gerhard's voice resonated in the battlefield. Control the shadows, let them fuse with your ice. This fusion will make you unstoppable. As Grafia embraced the amalgamation of ice and darkness, her attacks became more potent. Surfall increased her output to keep up with the shifting tides of magic. Gerhard, proud of his daughter's progress, continued to guide her. Your potential is boundless, Grafia. Together, with Cain you can reshape the underworld, furthering the legacy of the Lucifugs. Grafia, father, why did you join the Satans? Doesn't your loyalty lie in the clan of Lucifer? Gerhard, parrying an incoming strike, replied. The world is not as simple as it seems, my daughter. Sometimes, one must hurt someone to protect what they hold dear. The battle reached its climax, the clash of ice, darkness, and steel echoing through the Valifor territory. Gerhard and Grafia faced each other, a momentary pause in the chaos. Father, I don't understand what you mean, but I am sure Lord Cain would. Until then, it's my job as his Lucifuge in assisting him. Grafia declared. Gerhard, accepting her choice, nodded. That's my girl. Forge your own path, Grafia, and remember, the shadows can be both a shield and a weapon. The battle continued, but now Grafia fought with a newfound determination and control. Ice and darkness intertwined, creating a formidable force that allowed Sirafal to keep her peak output without worrying that Grafia might lag. In the end, as the eternal purple sky of the underworld hung over the battlefield, Gerhard couldn't help but feel a mixture of pride and regret, knowing that his daughter had chosen her own destiny. While going back to Lucifer after seeing the fight between the two sides, Damaidiso Asmodeus was awestruck to the point where he doubted if those three were even devils. But in his way back he met someone he didn't want to. Ziera Gremory had finally reached the Valifor territory, and to unfortunate luck of Asmodeus he met her. Not to say much, but just as he saw red hair from the distance he ordered his troops to run as fast as they can. I have no interest in checking out how strong she is. Damaidiso reached back to his base at Valifor town and stared, preparing for defense, but his surprise, even though Ziera was chasing him, she wasn't able to reach him. Thank goodness. Ziera was ambushed by Euclid on her way to capture Damaidiso. HMP, you lowly Gremory. I have come today to kill you, Euclid declared, not knowing how strong Ziera is. Euclid attacked her using his darkness power, but she destroyed all of it and knocked him out with a single attack infused with her pod. Seeing that he was knocked out, Ziera decided to take him back to his father. Ziera didn't want to kill him as she thought he was Grafia's brother and Grafia was Cain's maid. But when she reached near the camp of the Lucifer, she saw all the soldiers staying there, not on the battlefield. Seeing that, she left Euclid there and went to the place where the fight was going on. On reaching there, she saw that the entire battlefield was a cold desert with temperatures going way below zero. Sirafal had used her strongest attack, Cross Celsius trigger, covering the land into a frozen wonderland. On the other hand, half of the sky was dark because of Grafia. But even after this, Gerhard was not losing. In fact, he was still pushing them back. He wasn't called the right hand of the Lucifer for nothing. Each strike of his sword would cut Sirafal magic and separate the darkness of Grafia. Seeing that, Ziera created a sword of destruction and slashed. Sensing the immense attack heading towards them, the combatants retreated hastily. It was the right decision. Ziera's attack destroyed the darkness and ruined the frozen land. Sirafal and Grafia were relieved, seeing that support has come, as they were getting tired. While Gerhard was shocked seeing the ridiculous power in a simple attack done by Ziera. Seeing that made Gerhard understand that the Satans have lost this war. And to think Grafia says Cain is stronger than her while Adjuka is also there. There is no way the Satan faction is winning this civil war. The entire battlefield was controlled in an instant by Ziera, but in the middle of this, Melon Beelzebub appeared with a crazy look on his face and started speaking like a madman. All the lowly devils have gathered to die by my hands. Melon, have you gone crazy? Sirafal said, knowing how weak he was. Ha ha ha, you guys don't know anything. I have gained the power of the evil claws. Nobody in this world is my opponent. Hearing evil claws, Gerhard immediately got serious. Young Beelzebub, who gave you that power and where did you hear that name? Melon in his high state ignored everything and only saw Gerhard questioning him. You a mere servant of the Satans dare ask me? Die. Screaming, Melon began to transform into a giant fly chimera. This was the result of using his clan trait along with the Malabrink's power. Melon started to ray-also deadly poison which was greenish-purple in color. Gerhard, knowing that this was the doing of the other houses of Lucifer, went ahead to kill Melon. But the fly chimera was insanely fast and swung its poison-coated tail and managed to scratch Gerhard. Gerhard was poisoned. He would have been able to dodge it, but fighting two Satan-class devils at the same time for days without rest, even though he was not injured, his fatigue had built up. Gerhard knew that he wouldn't last long, so he decided to at least kill this chimera, but it started flying towards the populated areas. Ziera, seeing this, said, Lord Lucifuge, please go back to your camp. Euclid is there. I will handle the fly chimera. Saying so, Ziera spread her wings and went after the chimera. Seeing that, Gerhard also decided that it would be for the best that he retreated and handled the houses of Lucifer. While Grafia went along with him, as Euclid in the underworld was a very concerning thing, as Rizevim may also be in the underworld. Sirafal returned to her camp to have a talk with the troops and check on the other places. Looks like your plan was a success, Scarmiglione. Barbaricia said. Indeed, deputy leader. Now is the time to kill the devils. Saying so, the two awakened Malabernacs went towards the Valifor territory. But after they went there, a devil came inside with a cunning smile on his face. This devil was Zayaram and Neberos. The foolish constructs don't even know anything. So easy to manipulate. Now let's begin my research. Saying so, he began to transport the remaining 10 Malabernacs into the underground facility he had built outside the territory of the devils and the Greeks, making it impossible to find, and retreated there. But he made a mental note to check the battle between the rumored super devils Iria Gremory and the Beelzebub descendant. Just a few decades more, I will have a way to escape this world. As the Malabrant were coming, they weren't hiding their energy signature, so Gerhard and Grafia sensed them coming and went to intercept them. Gerhard had drunk a Phoenix tear, but the poison was too strong. It only reduced the rate of spreading. By the time they reached there, Sirafal was also there. The two Malabrant simply stood there and watched them. Gerhard, knowing what they were told, te others. Only try to defend yourself. Do not try to fight then, because those things are the Malabranks mentioned in the history books. Hearing that, both Grafia and Sirafal got serious. Gerhard went to fight Barbaricia, knowing that he was the stronger one, but was intercepted by Scarmiglione, leaving Grafia and Sirafal to fight Barbaricia. The situation was tense and Gerhard was poisoned. Grafia and Sirafal weren't ready to fight someone even the original Lucifer declared to be dangerous and sealed them. 500 years after the Great War, a devil was born. She floated in the air, releasing the power of destruction, which was so powerful even when she was a newborn, it could disintegrate or deform surrounding furniture and decoration without a trace. None of the doctors could touch her, except Venelana, who held her daughter and asked her husband Zedekias on what her name would be, to which he replied, Ziera. Ziera POV. Being a Gremary, I was always kind and loving to everyone. I treated even the common devils and mingled with them. When I was 17, I used to play piano at the Gremary Hall. Many children would join me and ask me questions related to various things. I also sung them nursery rhymes. I was happy with my life. I had inherited the pod from my mother. My parents always told me to not reveal my powers. My friends Ajuka, Sirafal, and Falbium were also told that. But when I saw the poor Oryx heir being beaten by the Beelzebub heir, I couldn't stop and ended up fighting him. Thankfully Grafia intervened and Shilba was stopped by Cain. Over time, due to my antics with Cain, I fell in love with him. Due to this, I started a choir in Lucifer as a reason to go there and meet with him. I also grew close with the choir group. After the Satan descendants decide to start the war, Zekram came to me and asked me to join him, but I denied. But the Beelzebub ordered his troops to massacre the common devils in Lucifer who did not support them. When I heard of it, I immediately went to Lucifer only to find the corpses of the innocent children who were in my choir. I was about to go to the Beelzebub castle and kill all of them, but I saw a huge explosion in the forest. Cain returned and saw me sitting on my knees falling into despair near the town post. He came near me and didn't say anything or try to console me, but simply hugged me. That day I cried for the first time. Cain, did they die because I didn't support the rebels? I was sobbing, but he replied this would have happened regardless. Hearing that, I knew that the Satans were not necessary for the devil race. After that I joined the rebel faction. I also asked Ajuka to join. I persuaded Falbium to join and he did. I am going to end this war so no more innocent children will die. Here I stand in front of Melon Beelzebub, who had transformed into a chimera. He was going to a populated area, but I wouldn't let him. No more innocent devils will die. Third person POV. Ziera faced the giant fly chimera, her body covered with the pod. As the monstrous chimera loomed before her, she channeled the clan trait she had inherited. However, to her surprise, the creature resisted her attempts to obliterate it. No, this should be enough to shatter mountains, Ziera muttered, frustration evident in her voice. Each strike she delivered merely glanced off its tough exoskeleton. Gritting her teeth, Ziera muttered, stubborn beast, isn't it? The chimera buzzed menacingly, its multiple eyes fixated on her. Unwilling to back down, Ziera channeled more power into her destructive aura, intensifying the red aura that surrounded her. As the battle raged on, Ziera's frustration grew. The chimera seemed immune to a large part of her abilities. In a moment of realization, she understood that conventional methods wouldn't be enough to overcome this adversary. I can destroy it if I use more of my energy, but the poison would spread and kill the people in the populated areas. Thinking so, Ziera decided to get rid of all the traces of poison along with the chimera. With a determined resolve, she tapped into the depths of her abilities, calling upon her true form, the incarnation of pure destruction. Chapter 34, Incarnation of Destruction. Third person POV. Ziera called upon her true powers and started transforming into the incarnation of pure destruction. The entire underworld was shaking with the amount of power Ziera was radiating. The space in the battlefield was shaking. The air itself was twisting around her, making her figure distorted. After that, what remained there was not a living being, it was humanoid-shaped power of destruction. It didn't even look like a living being, just pod taking a human form. Few beings in the world can call themselves incarnation of destruction, and Ziera is one of them. The fly chimera felt scared as only its primal instincts were in control. Just by Ziera's presence, the poison was being erased out of existence. Seeing that its most versatile weapon being destroyed so easily, the fly chimera instinctively understood that this is not an opponent it can face. It started to run away, but Ziera created a dome of pod around both of them. Gotta end this fast. I can't control my powers in this form, I will end up causing more damage than the chimera. This was the first time Ziera had used her form. Unlike Cain, who used Nyx's divine realm to learn and master his true form, Ziera didn't or wasn't able to. Thus her aura of destruction destroyed anything in her vicinity without differentiating between allies and enemies. I just need to kill the chimera and stay like this for a while. My aura would erase all traces of poison on its own. Thus Ziera used the strongest attack in her arsenal to kill the chimera. She created a sphere around the chimera and filled it up with the pod. The chimera inside screeched and howled, but the pod slowly erased its existence. The Malabrink's power and Melon Beelzebub both were obliterated without any resistance by Ziera's strongest attack, ruined the extinct. The chimera was destroyed. Now only the poison it released was left to be destroyed. Ziera's aura was doing it, but with the amount it had released it was going to take a while. This could have been way faster, but Ziera was afraid that her destruction would reach the populated areas, so she was doing her best restraining it. But still the terrain nearby area was getting slowly obliterated and the sky above her had changed to red from purple due to the large amount of destruction aura released by Ziera. Please just let this end quickly. Gerhard Lucifer was fighting with the Malabrink Skarlimjan while the poison from the fly chimera was still hindering him. You are the servant of the bastard Lucifer, so weak. Well, your master was too. Hearing that Gerhard was enraged, you may disrespect me, but disrespecting my master is off limits. Saying Tgat Gerhard slashed his sword and a cut appeared on the cheek of the Malebranche, shocking it. Let's see which happens first, either you die or my body gives up. Gerhard had decided that this would be his last battle. I wouldn't be able to fight after this even if I survive, what a shame that would be. Thus the last battle of the first Lucifuge began. After that Gerhard started overpowering the Malebranche with his sword skill, skillful manipulation of his clan trait along with using the terrain to his advantage. The evil claw Skarlimjan was astonished. How can a mere servant can you fight me? You think too highly of yourselves. My master sealed you because he wouldn't be able to win against all 12 of you at once. But in a one-on-one battle even your leader Malakota will be nothing but fodder to my master the Morningstar if he was in his heyday. This was true if Lucifer were to fight the Malebranches in his angel form, he will defeat them all. He wasn't called the Morningstar for nothing. But the restraints placed on him by the heavens system made him seal them due to it limiting his strength. But that is talk for later. The Malebranche was hellbent on killing him due to his connection with Lucifer, and Gerhard was also hellbent on killing the Malebranche to keep the promise he made to his master. The battlefield lay shrouded in an eerie tension, a testament to the clash between Skarlimjan and Gerhard. The air crackled with an unsettling energy as the two adversaries faced each other, a dance of swords and claws about to unfold. Gerhard, weakened and poisoned, gripped his sword with unwavering determination. The poison coursing through his veins served as a cruel reminder that he needs to end this fast. Skarlimjan, a relic from the past with dark wings and a sinister aura, had a grin on his face. So, Gerhard Lucifuge, your time is at an end. The poison eats away at your strength, Skarlimjan sneered. Skarmiglione was the one gave the power to Melon, so he knew that Gerhard was poisoned. Gerhard, defiant despite his weakened state, retorted, I'll face my death when it comes for me, not at the hand of a sealed machine like you. The clash began, blades and claws clashing with each other at tremendous speed, creating sonic booms every time they touched. Skarlimjan's movements were swift, his attacks fueled by the hatred he wielded. Gerhard, though weakened, fought with a ferocity of war-hardened devil, showing of why was he called the Dark Spirit during the Great War. Even some of the archangels were scared to fight him due to him killing one. As the battle lengthened, Gerhard was losing his vision and the poison's grip around his life tightened. Skarlimjan, reveling in the suffering of the servant of his most hated Parazn, taunted. Your master sealed me away, but in the end, he couldn't escape the clutches of death. Now you shall fall to me as well. Gerhard, fueled by a final surge of determination, unleashed a torrent of dark energy. The shadows intertwined with his sword, creating a deadly aura that caught Skarlimjan off guard. I may not escape death, but I'll take you down with me, Gerhard declared, his voice a defiant echo. Skarmiglione was shocked. He retaliated with a barrage of his nails which he launched from his claws. The battle between a dying warrior and a malevolent force became more turbulent. In the midst of the chaos, Gerhard's movements were getting slower, he was out of breath. Skarlimjan, sensing his foe's weakening, grinned with sadistic pleasure. Your end is near, Lucifuge. The poison will kill you, and soon, your soul will meet your master, Skarlimjan proclaimed. Seeing that he needed to end this quickly, Gerhard used a trick he was saving. Using his connection with his master, he used the sealing magic. He was only able to do so because he also took a part in the sealing. Silver runes appeared around Skarlimjan, halting his movements momentarily. Seizing this opportunity, Gerhard unleashed a series of precise strikes, each infused with the last dregs of his strength. As Skarlimjan was too unprepared and was unable to resist the full might of Gerhard, Gerhard's final strike pierced through the Malebranche's heart. A dark scream echoed through the battlefield as Skarlimjan dissipated into the shadows. But not without a warning. My other brother will take revenge on the underworld, curse you Lucifuge. The sealing magic, having served its purpose, faded away. Gerhard fell on his knees and felt the poison take hold of his life. But contrary to his impending doom, he looked towards the purple sky, a weary but resolute smile on his face. I finished a part of what you started, my lord, now I will leave the rest to your son, he whispered. The battlefield, silent in the aftermath, bore witness to the loyalty of a warrior who had faced the Malebranche with unwavering resolve. While Gerhard and Ziera were fighting their respective battles, Cain was protecting Grafia and Sirafal while fighting Barbaricia. Both of you go and kill Damaidisu. I will handle the Malebranche. Come here after you are done. Grafia and Sirafal went to the Satan faction camp to end the life of Damaidisu as Meduse. Now that they have gone, shall we see how strong you are? Cain started using his extraordinary scythe skills to fight the so-famed deputy leader of the Evil Claws. But to his surprise he was quite good. But that is it. He will lose to even Ziera or Adjuka. But he is stronger than any other devil. Cain used his dark light to end this quickly, but just as the Evil Claw saw that, his entire temperament changed and he became a bloodthirsty killer. Lucifer, I will murder your entire bloodline. Wow, he is attacking me with the ferocity of a mad dog. Wait, not a good comparison. Oh, my stupid father sealed him, so he is taking out his hatred on me and looks like he can somehow defend against dark light. So this might be tough. I guess this was the reason they were sealed. Cain, knowing that he can't use dark light extensively in this fight, started to use the powers of the scythe. Cain raised his scythe and used the move he used against Cockabile. The damage done to the Malebranche was extensive. Looks like these guys are weak to soul attacks. Azrael's scythe is a soul-based growth weapon. As he used to collect the soul of the dead, his scythe had the ability to cut souls and harvest them. Many more abilities are waiting to be unleashed, but Cain is not on the level of Azrael, who was probably on the level of Angel Lucifer. But the scythe was surprisingly effective against the Malabrink. Lucifer, I will kill you even if it means sacrificing myself. Barbariccia had understood that Cain was stronger than him. He is stronger than me and has a weapon which can attack our weakness. I can only try to take him down with me. If not, only leader Malakoda can fight him. Ironically, the antagonist was the one sacrificing here instead of the protagonist. Cain is fully playing the role of a devil here. Let's get serious. The winds were creating a eerie noise as Cain realized the aura of his scythe. A sinister feeling assaulted Barbariccia, the Malabrink with razor-sharp claws. The clash of steel against claws echoed through the desolate battleground, both combatants locked in a serious battle. Cain's red eyes, radiating coldness and determination, swung his scythe with lethal precision, aiming for Barbariccia's vulnerable spots. Barbariccia, agile and relentless, due to using his life force, countered with swift slashes of his claws, each strike leaving a trail of destructive energy in its wake. As the battle intensified, Barbariccia could feel himself going on the losing side while Cain was pushing him back by showing off his ridiculous skill with the scythe. In a desperate move, he tapped into his life force, channeling it into his claws. The energy surged through him, transforming his attacks into a deadly force that cut through the air like a storm. Cain was unperturbed and swung his scythe with deadly grace, each swing calculated to exploit any opening. Barbariccia, fueled by the sacrifice of his life force, fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness. All of this lasted only for a short time, as with each swing, Barbariccia's strength waned, and his movements grew sluggish. Cain, understanding that Barbariccia's life force was almost over, pressed the advantage. Your life force won't save you, ancient mongrel. It only hastens your demise. Barbariccia, his breaths labored, retorted with a feral growl. I'll take you down with me, even if it costs me everything. In a final act of desperation, Barbariccia unleashed a barrage of energy-infused slashes. The last attempt of the Malabrink was strong, but Cain, however, seized the opportunity and using his scythe as a lever turned on his scythe and pierced him from the back, ripping his torso from the rest of his body, and delivered a precise strike, severing Barbariccia's claws and sending him to the ground. As Barbariccia lay defeated, his life force expended, Cain stood over him with a neutral gaze. Your sacrifice was in vain. You cannot overcome me. I am inevitable. Barbariccia, weakened but defiant, managed a strained chuckle. Perhaps not, but my leader sure will. With those words, Barbariccia's eyes lost their light, his life force spent in a futile attempt to overcome Cain. The winds, now silent, carried away the remnants of the battle, leaving only the scars on the battlefield as a remainder to the battle between Cain and the deputy leader of the evil claws. Cain turned his head and looked towards the place where Gerhard was fighting. Looks he also dealt with that one. But what the actual fuck is Ziera doing? The demonic energy output is crazy. She is deleting the space around her. Don't tell me she can't control it. Looks like I need to limit the destruction. Cain spread his wings and went there. On the way he met Grafia and Sirafal. Killed him. No, he was already dead by the time we reached there. Cain frowned, but he heard Grafia say in his mind using the connection. Lord Cain, he was killed by Euclid. Sirafal wasn't able to tell, but I knew his energy signature. Heeding that, Cain's frown increased. What is my brother planning now? Well, I have prepared a nice gift for him. They met up with Gerhard, who was on his last legs but was maintaining a strong front for Grafia. The four of them went where Ziera was fighting and they witnessed a huge dome of pod, and it was slowly increasing in radius. Cain, how do we stop that? None of you can. Well, looks like I need to do some heavy lifting here. Saying that, Cain realized all of his aura countering Ziera's pod and started making his way towards Ziera. After reaching near her, he held her hands and said, "Calm down, don't lose yourself to destruction." Hearing his voice, she calmed down and under the suppression of Cain managed to get her pod under control. Just as she transformed back, her legs gave up and she fell on Cain's chest. Can't walk after that heavy work. Don't say words which can be taken out of context. Cain lifted her in a princess carry and started walking towards the group. On reaching, he saw Gerhard lying with a peaceful smile on his face and Grafia crying silently. Seeing that, he put Ziera down as she had recovered a bit, and went and hugged Grafia, consoling her. He didn't say anything as hollow words will do nothing. The best he can do is be a supporting pillar to her, just like her father was to her. They were like that for a while. Neither Sirafal or Ziera said anything, even though Gerhard was an enemy. After Grafia was able to calm down a little, Cain lifted Gerhard's body, dug up a hole and put him in it, and buried his sword near his grave and engraved the words, "Here lies Gerhard Lucifuge, the right hand of the Morning Star." Chapter 35, Revenge. Third-person POV. 3 months have passed since the battle at the Valifor town. After a few days, Grafia went back to normal, at least on the surface. Cain didn't do much of his role as the supreme commander during this time. Falbium was the one making the strategies this time. Now Cain was about to start what would be known as the Devil Purge in the future. 4 devil pillars and 5 extra devil houses will be erased from existence. Cain knew that if he told the others about his plan, they would not agree. To be fair, no one will support making multiple clans go extinct at once because of personal reasons. So he had used the Lucifuge's information gathering powers to send messages to Hajanti, Paimon and Zagan to come in the Valak castle for an important discussion. Making counterfeit seals weren't hard due to the vast techniques the Lucifuge had. But Cain had to do it himself as Grafia was still not comfortable with coming in the Lucifuge castle. While their househead have a meeting, the rest of their clans will be dead, even if they know it will be too late. Cain was sure that either Ajuka or Ziera will come to stop him if they knew of it, which was certain. Cain had planted various evidences pointing at the four houses being the culprit behind the initiation of the Devil Civil War. Cain had made his plan foolproof, but it is unavoidable that some devil pillars will be against him for this, as he will doing a massacre without any warning or proper explained reason. Well, might as well tell the who's the boss around from now on. Cain teleported above the Valak castle. After making sure that everyone he wanted was inside, created a barrier outside the castle using dark light. Cain had already killed the remaining clan members of the houses of Paimon, Haganti, Zagan. He killed them painlessly as they weren't involved in the planned killing him. But those who resisted him were killed in cold blood. Valak was enjoying the chaos he has created in the underworld and dreaming about how he will become the next Satan and conquer the world when he saw his fellow devil associates enter his castle. He went to meet them thinking that something urgent must have come up, as not all four of them were in the same side to the underworld. He walked towards them and asked them, "What happened for you three to come in my castle like this?" But Valak's question was answered by Paimon with another question. "Why we came, you asked us to come here. What?" Valak's mind instantly figured out something was wrong, but it was too late. Just as he was about to tell to run, the entirety of the castle was cut open from the top like a chips packet. And Cain, with his scythe resting in his shoulders, came down, falling slowly due to his 6 pairs of wings. Seeing that the other 3 aside from Valak were scared seeing him here. "What are you doing, Lucifer?" "What am I doing? I am simply killing my opponents. What's so wrong in it?" "Lord Lucifer, we are on the same side. What do you mean?" "I only mean what I say, bitch." The underworld sky was filled with the screams of the devils in the Valak castle as Cain, his eyes gleaming with a revenge, confronted the devils who had once tried to end his life. Valak, Hannah, Paimon, and Zagan stood outside the castle, their demonic energy cloaking their bodies, trying to protect themselves from the attacks of Cain's dark light. Fear gripped them as they recognized the Lucifer they had once sought to kill, was now a bloody devil seeking revenge. Cain, with a sinister smirk, stepped forward. "You thought you could eliminate me? Well, I'm here to remind you that death has a way of catching up, even to immortal devils like you." The devils, their arrogance replaced with dread, attempted to summon their clan traits. Before they could even react, Cain unleashed a torrent of dark light, ensnaring them in chains made up of dark light. Zagan, the organizer of the failed attempt on Cain's life, pleaded, "Wait, Cain. We can make a deal, spare us." Cain's laughter echoed through the Valak castle. "A deal? You had your chance when you tried to kill a child. Now, it's payback time." Cain's eyes flared with demonic energy as he toyed with his victims, enjoying the fear that dripped from their every word. The castle walls bore witness to the gruesome revenge unfolding. Hannah, her demonic features contorted in terror, stammered, "We were following orders. It wasn't personal." Cain, unmoved, replied with a cruel smile, "Oh, it was personal from a long time." The devils, ensnared in Cain's clan trait, couldn't escape the impending doom. With a swift motion, Cain summoned blades made out of dark light, each dripping with liquid form of the dark light. He approached Zagan first, the master of the devil who tried to kill him. "You took away my childhood. Now, I take away your existence." Cain's blade sliced through Zagan with a merciless precision, leaving nothing but a trail of demonic flesh dissolving into the nothingness. The remaining devils quivered, realizing the depth of their impending torment. Paimon, panic-stricken, babbled, "Cain, we were wrong. We'll do anything, please spare us." Cain, lost in a twisted satisfaction, ignored the pleas. "Spare you? Like you spared my head maid? No, Paimon, you deserve a taste of your own medicine." Cain's vengeance knew no bounds. He subjected the devils to a relentless onslaught of agony, their screams harmonizing with the underworld. The courtyard, once a place of elegance and secrets, now bore witness to a macabre symphony of revenge. As Paimon, the second last of Cain's tormentors, fell to the ground, Cain stood amidst the fading echoes of his vengeance. The castle absorbed the horrors, and the Cain cast an indifferent gaze upon the scene. Cain, the embodiment of death and retribution, surveyed the aftermath of his revenge. The devil's twisted forms lay broken and lifeless, a testament to the strength and his growth from a helpless child to a monster. Cain, sitting on top of the corpse mountain he had created, looked at Valak, who even after seeing that the things had done to the other 3 had not a bounce of fear on his face. Cain had skinned them alive using dark light, made their blood infused with it and run through their body until they died in agony. He had even destroyed the souls of them. But even after that, Valak was not fearing him. Even the Morningstar had failed to elicit fear from him, but Cain, Valak was feeling unease for the first time. "Is this fear? No, even the angel of death failed to do so. This child can never make me feel fear." But seeing Cain's eyes and the cold-blooded nature, even Valak was second-guessing himself. "I know you are thinking that even the Og Lucifer failed to strike fear into you. What can I do? But let me tell you, he was a leader who commanded armies and destruction, but fear? That's a different realm." Saying so, Cain realized all of his energy distorting his figure, making him look something unholy to Valak. Seeing that for the first time, Valak felt primal fear clawing at the edges of his sanity, making him scream, "Stay away from me, you monster." With that, Cain destroyed his body and scattered his soul. And after that, Cain sat on the mountain of corpses. He looked like the real owner of the scythe he uses for a moment. And at that moment, the barrier he placed was broken down by Ziera, who after seeing him was shocked, but was more terrified of the carnage he had done across the underworld. Just after Cain had closed the barrier around the Valak castle, the other devils of the rebel faction were told by their spies that the entire clans of Zagan, Paimon, and Haganti were destroyed, leaving no survivors. Zekram immediately called Ziera and told her to go find the cause. He also went with her. Their finding led them to the Valak castle, which they found enclosed by dark light. Seeing that both of them understood that the massacre was done by Cain, Ziera break the barrier. We need to ask why he did this. Ziera hesitated but understood that she needs to ask Cain himself or else she might cause a misunderstanding. So she destroyed the barrier and scene shocked the devils. Some even got nauseous and vomited after seeing the gruesome state of the bodies picked upon each other and Cain sitting on them. Even those who had fought in the Great War were scared. Cain, seeing them, stood up and came walking towards them. His hair now half red, dripping with blood, killing intent in the air, and his entire body drenched with blood. Just as he came close, Zekram asked, "Why did you do this?" Hearing that, Cain answered, "Search the premises, you will find the reason. And if you want more, ask Graphia. You can't just make devil pillars go extinct like this." But Cain ignored Zekram and said, "There are going to 5-6 more like this, be prepared." Saying that, he spread his wings and stared flying towards the 6 houses of Lucifer, leaving Ziera in a bewildered state. "I need to ask Graphia what happened." Cain after that went to the 6 houses of Lucifer and massacred them all. Flurdy and Agalia report were killed by Zekram and Falbium at Eligos castle. Neberos was nowhere to be found even after he searched the entire devil society personally. That left Sanadikia and Sargantas. Both tried to make a deal with him, and when he refused tried to attack him, but he dealt with them swiftly without any problems. He also destroyed their clan castle, leaving nothing as a remainder to the 6 houses of Lucifer except Lucifuge, who was under Graphia as per Gerhard's will. He also told Melissa and Vanessa to ask a builder to erect a grand monument for Gerhard at the place where he died and went off to check on the Malabrynths. They are not here, huh? Looks like Neberos was one step ahead, but now that I have their weakness they don't amount to much. Cain destroyed the place and buried it, and went back to his castle and checked on his treasury to find it still full. Did Rizevim didn't come like I planned, well whatever, and went back to resting and calming down the storm he had created. While Ziera talked with Graphia and understood the reason behind Cain's action, thus not letting any misunderstanding be created between the both of them. As Cain predicted Rizevim to come to the treasury, he did. Cain had took out all the things and left only coins in there. Rizevim found it weird, but he picked up the coins in order to steal them, but just as he picked them and saw them, his veins started bulging. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "Cain, you bastard!" and went back. The coin was not made up of gold but made up of gold-colored glass with Jesus drinking wine and eating bread with sunglasses printed on it, making it hard for devils to use. That day the maids at the Lucifer castle thought that they heard someone scream but thought it to be their imagination. All the fronts have been won by the anti-Satan faction and only Lucifer remains standing, while only Bidliad Bashalin Beelzebub was left as the sole commander of the Satan faction. Almost a year has passed since the starting of the civil war. The final battle will finally begin. But what sinister plan has Rizevim planned remains to be a mystery. Well, everyone has a plan till they are punched in the face, said Cain calmly like old magician with a phoenix. Chapter 36, Sieging of Lucifer. Third-person POV. A year has passed since the start of the Devil Civil War. The devil population continued to dwindle and the devil pillars continued to go extinct. Out of the 72 devil pillars only 50 remained alive after the Great Holy War, but till now in the Civil War 11 devil pillars have gone extinct and the population has reached an all-time low of less than 1 billion. All the main leaders of the anti-Satan faction were in a camp outside the boundaries of Lucifer and were planning on sieging it. Cain was sitting with Graphia behind him while Ziera, Adjuka, Sirafal, Falbium, Zekram, and some other devil lords sat in the camp along with him. As you all know, all the other territories have been conquered by us, only the center stronghold of the Satan faction remains. And Falbium stopped sleeping. While they were discussing some of the strategies about how to bring down Lucifer, a devil barged in the camp and looked at Cain and said, "Cain, I also want to participate in the war meeting." "And who the fuck are you?" Hearing that, Sirafal started laughing but soon controlled her laugh. Graphia came near his ear and said, "My lord, it is the Oryx heir." Cain cleared his throat and spoke again this time. "Oh, you are the one who got thrashed by Shulba." Hearing that, Sirafal couldn't control her laughter and started laughing loudly, embarrassing the Oryx heir even more. Seeing that, Zekram spoke up to save some face for the poor guy. "Heir Oryx, please go out. We will talk about your plea at a later date." Zekram was politely asking him to fuck off from here and he wouldn't be included in the meeting. Olive Oryx, seeing that he was ignored, looked towards Ziera with pleading eyes, thinking that she will surely help him like she did in the past. He had fallen in love with her during the Young Devil gathering. He had trained himself so that he didn't need to be saved but to be the one who will save. Ziera, being from the Gremory house, said, "Let him stay, it wouldn't do any bad, right?" Olive was happy seeing that, but a cold voice cut through his happiness like a hot knife. "No, this meeting is only for the people who have contributed enough in the Civil War or have sufficient strength in the underworld, not for any spoilt kid." Hearing that, Olive spoke, "I am not weak, I am also strong." Seeing that, Cain pressured him using his aura, making him fall to his knees and cracked the ground beneath him and spoke. "Strong? You are pathetically weak. I only see a guy who got his ass beat in the devil gathering, not someone strong. Now get out before I throw you out." After that, the poor guy understood that he couldn't do anything here. "Just wait till the Civil War is over, I will make you regret it." Zera, Seraphol, and Adjuka entered the city of Lucifer along with Cain. Graphia, Falbium, and Zekram were left for dealing with the army. Just as they entered the city, the four of them started seizing the main facilities of the capital. Due to their ridiculous power, none of the soldiers from the Satan clans were able to stand against them. In a few moments they reached Bidliad. Even after knowing that he didn't run away like Zeragil. At least he has guts. But unfortunately guts doesn't save you from getting killed in situations like this. When their squad reached the city center, they found Bidliad standing there with the elites of the Beelzebub clan ready for his last battle. Hey, you and Adjuka have already had their share of killing Satans, this is Seraphal's turn, right? Cain spoke like they were playing a game. Seeing that, Adjuka said, don't disrespect them like that, but yes, it will be Sera's turn. Adjuka, don't join Cain's shenanigans, you are supposed to be the intelligent one. Zera rebuked him while pinching Cain. Seraphol had already went ahead and engaged Bidliad in the battle, in which he was surprisingly adept. He was far better than any Satan descendants thus far. The icy winds howled around Seraphol as she faced Bidliad Beelzebub. The battleground was the middle of the devil capital. Bidliad, a formidable adversary with the ability to command swarms of flies, grinned with sinister anticipation. Even after knowing that he would die today, Seraphal's blue eyes locked onto Bidliad as she conjured a barrier of ice to shield herself from the incoming swarm of flies. Your buzzing files won't save you, Bidliad. It's time to see how well you handle the might of my ice magic. Bidliad chuckled, the buzzing of his flies forming a dissonant melody. Ice against the Beelzebub? How disappointing. Let's see if your frost can withstand the storm of my swarm. As Bidliad unleashed a horde of flies, Seraphol activated her cross-Celsius trigger. The very environment of Lucifer was turned into a glacial battlefield. The air itself seemed to crystallize, and ice spikes emerged from the ground like frozen stalagmites. This was only possible due to Cain ordering his soldiers to empty the capital, or Seraphol would not be able to use her strongest move. You're quite skilled with your petty tricks, Seraphol, but can you freeze the relentless march of the flies? Bidliad taunted. Seraphol smirked, weaving her magic with precision. As the flies approached, the icy terrain hindered their movements. Bidliad, momentarily caught off guard, realized the effectiveness of Seraphal's strategy. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a barrage of icicles, piercing through the swarm and dispersing it. Bidliad, undeterred, formed a shield of flies around him. Impressive, but you'll have to do better than that. Seraphal's eyes gleamed with determination. Oh, I intend to. The battle continued, a dance of ice and swarming insects. Seraphal's precision and control over the frozen terrain proved to be a potent force against Bidliad's relentless assault. Yet, the clan trait King of Flies wasn't one to be underestimated. Meanwhile, in the background, Cain, Zera, and Adjuka found themselves fending off a group of the elite Beelzebub clan. Amidst the skirmish, they exchanged banter. Cain, parrying a strike with his scythe, smirked at Zera. You call that destruction, Zera? I've seen better from a toddler. Zera, her movements fluid as she dispatched foes with her pod, retorted. Maybe you should focus less on annoying me and more on your aim, Cain. You nearly hit me with that last swing. Adjuka, using his formulas to repel the goons, interjected with a monotone voice. While you two bicker, I'm the one fighting the most. Back in the main confrontation, Seraphol conjured a blizzard, swirling winds of ice that engulfed Bidliad. The King of Flies struggled against the freezing tempest, his swarm disoriented and dispersed. You're persistent, Seraphol, but you can't freeze my flies. Bidliad's voice cut through the blizzard. With a burst of demonic energy, Bidliad emerged from the blizzard, his form wreathed in a dark aura. The flies, revitalized, swarmed around him once more. Seraphol, her breath visible in the icy air, smirked. I'm not done yet. With a snap of her fingers, the icy terrain beneath Bidliad transformed into a field of razor-sharp ice shards. Bidliad, caught by surprise, found himself on unstable ground. You underestimated the power of my cross-Celsius trigger. Now, let's see if you can stay alive for long, Seraphol declared. As Bidliad struggled to navigate the icy terrain, Seraphol seized the opportunity. She unleashed a barrage of icicles that converged on Bidliad, piercing through his defenses. Bidliad roared in pain, the ice was spreading through him. He cut off his arm to save himself. In the background, Cain, Zera, and Adjuka had almost dealt with the goons. Cain, delivering a swift strike, quipped. You know, fighting goons is therapeutic. Like a devilish stress ball. Zera, gracefully dodging an attack, added. Therapeutic? I think you just enjoy the sound of your own scythe clashing. Adjuka, manipulating demonic energies, said. Well, at least it's a good distraction while Seraphol works her icy magic. Back to the battle between Seraphol and Bidliad. Seraphol, a smirk playing on her face, said, looks like this ice girl is stronger than the Beelzebub. This isn't over. Bidliad tried to, but his arm was cut off, half of his wings frozen and broken while one of his legs was completely frozen. Seeing that, Seraphol tried to offer him a surrender but was met with a ferocious response. I won't surrender, the blood and wrath of the Satans shall always stand against you. Hearing that, Seraphol created a spike of ice and pierced his heart and brain, officially bringing an end to the cruel and gruesome devil civil war. Bidliad POV. I hope I bide you enough time, my son, Shilba. I put my faith in you that one day you will dethrone these fake devils and revive the pure Beelzebub clan. Seraphol POV. I was born at a very young age. I had a mutated clan trait which allowed me to use ice magic. I was a prodigy in it. I grew very strong, but I liked more to be helpful to the devils of my territory. The Satrais are known for their medical abilities, so most of the hospitals in the underworld are owned by my family. I was always ready to help fellow devils. My friend also had a similar mindset. Even the Lucifer aka Cain was not as bad as the other Satans. So when Zekram asked me to support the rebel faction, I joined. I knew the cruelty the Satans do in their territory. The patients were traumatized for life. At first no one joined, but after a major incident everyone, Ziera-chan, Ajuka-kun, and Falbi joined too. And to top it off, Cain joined it too. The strongest person I ever fought was Cain, but Gerhard Lucifuge with his skills was also very strong, and to think he died like that. I wanted to help Grafia-chan, but I left that to Cain. Now that finally the civil war has ended, I can go back to my normal life. I will make sure that the underworld is a better place for all the devils. Third person POV. After that everyone was in a good mood for celebration. The squad met up with the ones fighting the Satan army. After learning of the defeat of the Beelzebub, the Satan faction lost their drive and surrendered. Seeing that Zekram came and started to speak to the lords and the heroes of the civil war. This war was won due to the great efforts of all the devils. But even in them some have done greater things. These are Ziera Gremory, Ajuka Astaroth, Sira Falsitrai, and Falbium Glacialobalas. Many were confused not hearing the main devil Cain's name, but Zekram continued. So I want to nominate these guys as the next Satans after the complete surrender of the Satan faction and getting things in order. There will be a ceremony dash. He was continuing, but Cain interrupted him and said, "You were giving a nice speech, old coot, but the main villain hasn't even been defeated yet. What are you talking about? You shouldn't forget that aside from the Satan descendants which ran away and went out of the underworld and me, there is another Satan child, and he hasn't told us his alignment, has he?" Hearing that, everyone remembered about Rizevim. Cain's reminder made everyone think again, as if Rizevim supported the Satan's faction due to him being a Lucifer. The civil war may be restarted. Don't worry about it. I am here to stop him, aren't I? Are you sure you can? This time it was the Lord Gremory who asked. Not many knew about the fight between the Malebranche and Cain, so they still thought that he was only a good commander and not fighter. The next fight, which will start shortly, will probably answer your question, Lord Gremory. Everyone wanted to ask him what that means when a voice boomed in the silent battlefield. Been a while, brother. Chapter 37, I am the Lucifer. Third person POV. Been a while, brother. Rizevim said that with an arrogant tone in his voice while he was walking towards Cain. When he crossed Ziera, he stopped for a moment and looked at her. You are the one Cain protected, right? Let's how you get by after I kill him. Hearing that, everyone is shocked. Nobody thought that Rizevim would straight up say that he will kill his brother. What about the contract? Cain said. Rizevim laughed and replied, contacts are meaningless to super devils. Only special things can bind us. Hearing that, Cain laughed and said, Super devil? Who you? Don't make me laugh. Your presence is nowhere near Ziera or Ajuka. They will hoop your ass. And me, my slap will send you to the Jurassic era. I don't know what the hell Jurassic era means, but I will have your head today. After that, both Cain and Rizevim came face to face and stared at each other, letting their aura run rampant. Cain's hand were still in his pocket, while Rizevim had a ferocious look on his face. In the middle of the wild stare down, Cain spoke to Rizevim in a low voice which can be heard only by the both of them. Did you like the holy coins, dear Riz? Hearing that, Rizevim made a furious face, a contrast to his ferocious face just now, but before he could speak something, Cain kicked him in the stomach. He was thrown backwards even when his legs were rooted in the ground. Multiple sonic booms were released by that kick, showing that Cain had just kicked someone with a speed many times that of sound. And after that he went to attack Rizevim, not giving him any leeway. Ziera, seeing that, went near her father and said, Father, now you will know why Cain said that. Because even I would say that Cain is the strongest devil. Rizevim knew that he was not a match for Cain, but for him to say that even those lowly devils are stronger than him truly pissed him off. But he knew he couldn't give in to his anger and duke it out with Cain, as he knew in a close combat fight Cain would rip him apart like a hungry man would rip apart a piece of bread. So he started casting magic to enhance his defense and reaction speed. But even then he was being forced back. Looks like he still has some plans running in the back of his mind. Well, he is going to die today, so no worries. Cain was not taking this fight seriously, as he has learned all the magic in the Lucifer Castle library, so he will not be surprised this time. Not to mention that Cain, unlike Ziera and Ajuka who overshadow Rizevim, he dwarfs him in pretty much anything. Let's see what you gonna do, my brother. My Sacred Gear Canceller ability is useless against Cain, and his Dark Light nullifies my magic, and to top it off he is better at hand-to-hand combat. And he hasn't started using his scythe. Looks like I will need to play dirty here. The air around the two Lucifer brothers was crackling with untold intensity. Rizevim was trying his very best to stay far away from Cain, lest he gets blitzed. Till when are you going to run, my dear brother? Cain mocked Rizevim, but Rizevim stayed calm while simultaneously using magic strong enough to kill ultimate class devils. Just wait, Cain, soon you will know my plan. Rizevim was secretly gathering his magical energy to unleash a big attack on Cain. Thus he was buying time. But even buying a little time was proving to be ridiculously hard when Cain was using dark light chains and seemingly covering the entire battlefield with its range. The battlefield was continuously changing between the ground and sky. The other devils were very surprised, as they didn't knew both the Lucifer brother were this strong. The sound of Cain cutting magic with his scythe and the bombardment of magic spells by Rizevim was creating a symphony of arcane and steel. Every time Cain cold steel of scythe would near Rizevim he would teleport, resetting the battle to the start. Most devils were thinking that the two brothers are equally strong, but only the stronger devils were able to tell. Cain was toying around with Rizevim. While it looked like it, Cain was only using his scythe as a normal scythe and dark light chains only nothing grand, almost as if he didn't consider Rizevim worthy. Suddenly Rizevim laughed like a joker. "Ooh-ya-ya-ya-ya-ya, finally my magic is ready. The fuck is that laugh?" And saying that Rizevim revealed 16 10-meter bullets made up of pure demonic energy and launched it at Cain. Those bullets contained enough energy to destroy a country, showing that he wasn't called a super devil for joke. But Cain didn't dodge those bullets and swung his scythe after covering it with liquid dark light, simply cutting them even before the bullets reached him. "Did you really think that will do something? Let me show how it is done." Saying that, Cain raised his hands and a single 25-meter dark light spear appeared in the purple sky of the underworld, illuminating it and started falling downwards. Seeing that, every devil there was shocked. But Rizevim didn't lose hope and created thousands of magic circles around him, each of different magic spell, showing that his magic casting once inferior to the Diabolism Thousand Dragon, Azadahaka. The clash between the magic and dark light rattled the entire space around the battlefield. Rizevim had to give it his all just to stop one. Seeing that, Cain said, "Very nice. But what about the remaining ones in the sky?" Hearing that, Rizevim looked up in the sky to find 25 dark light spears, each as big and destructive as the first one, piercing the clouds and revealing themselves falling down towards the battlefield. Seeing that, Rizevim only made a bitter smile and muttered something and started to cast numerous magic spells on himself. While the other devils watching it lost all the thoughts they had. Only one thing going on in their mind. How can someone resist against that? Cain literally used the max power he can use with dark light without going super devil, and it more than enough to destroy multiple countries at once. Seeing that, all the devil lords and the future Satan created a huge barrier in an attempt to stop the damage caused by Cain. Cain only used a move like this because he knew Ajuka and Ziera have big enough reserves to create a barrier which can withstand his blows. The attack of Cain was visible to the entire underworld. Many devils thought that the Great War had been restarted and the angels were attacking. The falling of those spears was like Armageddon. The moment the spears touched the ground, a blast bigger than any blasts in all of biblical history. The only reason the Devil Society existed was because of the barrier erected by Ajuka using his Kenkara formula and Ziera's massive demonic energy reserves. The shockwave from the attack was devastating. Many weak devils fell even after the barrier absorbed most of it. Cain was standing even after all of that, while Rizevim was nowhere to be seen. But after the smoke cleared, the devils saw Rizevim on his knees while Cain was standing in front of him with his hands inside his pockets. Rizevim's magic spells had at least protected him somewhat, but his armor had completely been broken and he was bleeding from wounds which were spread all over his body. Cain was surprised seeing that his brother was like this, even though Rizevim was also a super devil. But then it struck Cain, and he spoke, going near his brother. "Oh looks, you can't transform like me or Ziera, neither do you have a special magic like Ajuka. Let me guess, you haven't truly understood what your power is, right?" Cain was right. Rizevim wasn't a true super devil currently. He didn't focus much on that for unknown reasons. But even though he was blatantly at a disadvantage, Rizevim said, "Indeed, Cain, but you shouldn't have gotten this close." Hearing that, Cain sensed something, or more precisely someone, coming outside from Rizevim's shadow and attacking him with a powerful attack. Cain brought his hand to stop it, but the attack launched him kilometers away and embedded him inside a mountain. Seeing that, everyone was shocked and the figure was revealed to be Euclid, who was panting hard. "Your plan worked, my lord. Even if he is strong, he can't remain unscathed from an attack from a Satan-class devil with full power." But soon after, every devil started to look at the mountain range in which Cain was blasted. Every devil was having an uncanny feeling. Cain came out from the hole in which he was in and removed the destroyed clothes. But he didn't even bleed. The only thing was that he was propelled far away. After all, he blocked that attack, and Euclid isn't that strong. Even so, I need to tell them why I am the Lucifer. Saying so, Cain swung his scythe very slowly, but the power in that was astronomical. The result was that the entire mountain was destroyed and the shockwave reached the other devils. This time again there was a bitter smile on the face of Rizevim. He warned Euclid, "Move away, dash." But before Euclid could comprehend, he was already thrown miles away from a single punch by Cain. Cain had instantly reached him. No devil present was able to see it happen. One moment Cain was near the ruined mountain, and the next time he was at his previous position with Euclid flying and creating sonic booms. "Time to get serious, my brother." Even Ziera was surprised, as currently Cain was releasing energy above that of a Satan class, even though he hadn't transformed. This was possible because he had mastered his super devil form. "Let's end this, Rizevim." Both the brothers knew that this would be the end of one, and everyone knew who it is. But even so, an injured tiger is more dangerous. This time Cain had no intention of giving his brother a chance to escape. He has decided that this fight ends here. Cain rushed in for a close combat fight with dark light chains and his scythe assisting him. Now that Cain was going in with his top power and not just using it for AoE attacks, Rizevim was really struggling in the fight. Every exchange would result in a cut or a punch for Rizevim. Only thanks to his defense spells he was able to even continue fighting, but even then Cain was gradually cornering him. And it seems like Euclid was out for good, since he hasn't intervened till now. Now that all of Rizevim's tricks were useless since Cain was fighting seriously, he also started fighting like his life depended on it. But alas, a normal devil could never hope to defeat a super devil. In the end Rizevim again fell on his knees, bathed in blood, panting and accepting his fate. Cain raised his scythe and coated it with liquid dark light, and in the midst of he remembered something NYX had told him. Flashback no jutsu. If you chant about concepts and abstracts things like fate and destiny, the will from your words will strengthen your attack. This is the reason why many gods have such poems for themselves. Comeback time. Remembering that, Cain started to say, Scythe of death, dark light's embrace. Unleash the tempest, the void to trace. In the dance of echoes, let chaos surge. The final requiem, the eternal dirge. As the words were uttered, a huge scythe formed in the sky in purple color, which was gradually covered by dark light and started shining brightly. Blight the heavens, shatter the veil. With each swing, let dimensions quail. I am the bringer of fate untold. In this dark symphony, your tale is foretold. With that, two enormous hands appeared and held the scythe and swung it down on top of Rizevim's head, cutting him from the top to bottom into two equal halves, which vaporized as soon as they separated. After everything was settled down, only Cain with his scythe could be seen on the battlefield with no sign of his brother. NYX wasn't wrong. My attack was at least twice as strong as it would be normally. Cain looked towards Zekram and spoke clear and loud. Zekram, you may give the seat of Beelzebub, Leviathan, and Asmodeus to anyone, but the Lucifer seat is mine because I am the Lucifer. With that line, one Satan was decided and the devil civil war ended for good. Now only rebuilding hell and taking it to new heights remained. Chapter 38, Wedding, R18*. Chapter 39, My Wife Sierra Lucifer, R18*. Chapter 40, The Book of Lucifer, Third Person POV. Some time has passed since the marriage between Cain and Sierra, and Cain has started to make plans on how to develop underworld into hell. Currently he is sitting with Sierra on his lap and talking to her about his plans and what are the important things they need to focus on. So why are you not doing any work, Cain? Aren't you supposed to look after the internal affairs? Cain hugged Sierra from behind and said, Who said I am gonna do the paperwork? You are gonna do that, and I am going to figure out a way to make Devil Society independent from the underworld. Why Hades doesn't do anything to us? Just because he doesn't, it does not mean that he will be silent in the future. Also, we can't depend on the Greek pantheon like this. So I will focus more on that part, so deal with the internal affairs. Fine, just don't disappear suddenly on me. And which number am I? Well, you should be the 5th, but you are the number 1 wife. That better be it. After that, Cain kissed Sierra lightly on the lips and went away. After that, Cain created a basic order in which he had to do things. He went to his study and called Graphia. You called, my lord? Yes. FIA, go and help Sierra with her work and help her get accustomed to the paper. Will also give a list of devil who are capable of managing large business along with finances. Yes, my lord. After that, Graphia went and Cain started writing in a paper. And he made a list of things he need to focus immediately on. 1. Reconstruct all the broken buildings and stabilize the Devil Society both financially and in terms of power also. The military needs to be made more stronger. 2. Figuring out on how to make an independent dimension. And make the Greek pantheon not start a war over it. I can make the dimension stable and strong using the world tree seed, but I will still need a core to make a dimension. I have a few ideas on it, but they will take time. 3. Make NYX break from the authority of Olympus and join hell. And prevent her from getting weaker. 4. Make a roster of peerage members. And help Ajuka make evil pieces a little faster than in canon. 5. Improve the relations with some pantheons and factions. Main priority should be given to the Shinto and Norse. Chinese and Hindu are not on bad terms. But the other two are on not good terms due to some devil young masters fooling around. This should be enough for the near future. In the long run, I need more concrete plans. After that, Cain kept the list aside and got serious. Time to handle the most pressing matter at hand now. As he said that, a book appeared in front of him. It was black book with silver lining at the edges. It looked very old, like it would wither at the slightest touch, and gave off a very unsettling feeling. And at the front of it some words were written in an unknown language. But when Cain had first touched it, he felt that he can understand that language, and the words meant Book of Lucifer. Cain first found this book floating in front of him after he had killed Rizevim and entered his castle. No one else was able to see it unless he gave his permission. This made Cain understand that only when one of the heirs is alive they can get this. What a cruel way to pass on his legacy. But even after this much time he hadn't started reading it. He had been postponing it, but now he had decided to finally read it and figure out the things he had missed on. According to NYX, his true name, which she said was Livan and not Livian, will also be here. After that, Cain started reading the Book of Lucifer and to his surprise found many astonishing things. Some of them so dangerous that the entire devil race or the biblical pantheon may get destroyed if they are known to the other gods and pantheons. But some of the things he found were really helpful for his imminent plans. And they also answered some of his questions. I know that by the time any one of my descendants read this I will be long dead. But still, as the king of devils, it is my job to tell you that. Don't get controlled by the heavens system. Even I, who was the strongest angel, couldn't oppose it and became a warmonger. The reason why all the Satans were so arrogant and weird was because of the restriction placed on the devils and fallens by the heavens system. It stops any devils and fallens from reaching level higher than super devil class. Even I, who was above that level when I was an angel, was not able to bypass it. The other Satans were constantly trying break through the wall. But it was slowly eating away at our sanity. The only way to stop it from reaching the entire devil society is by isolating them. We Satans became more deranged as we took the burnt of the common devils too. This also led to me not behaving like a proper husband to my wife Livon Lilith. I think my devil persona would disagree, but the soul fragment which wrote this after my death will not. I only hope that you give her proper treatment if she is alive. This is my only wish. As for other things like dark light and true names, ancient devil language, all others are explained in detail in this book along with some of my personal experiences. The way to create the devils is a weird one. Do not try it lest you fall prey to corruption like me. Also beware of my father, as he has dabbled in soul magic even though he is not a death god. Fighting him might be the most dangerous thing in your life even if he is not a combat god. After Cain read that, he understood a lot of things like the weird man who appeared in his mind, the weird acting of the Satans, why NYX said that about his name, and most importantly how to avoid the mindfuckery. And also that his name is Cain Livon Lucifer, not Livian. But to think that Livon will become Livian if not speaking in ancient language of the devils. Now that it is out of the bag with what needs to be done, let's begin with getting Ajuka to create the evil pieces a tad bit faster. As I now need a dimensional barrier, I can stabilize it using the world tree and I can get someone to look after it. But the question that remains is who will look after the tree itself. I am not giving that work to anyone. So it is going to be a peerage member of mine, and for that the evil pieces need to be created faster as NYX has gotten very weak. Probably only enough for a few decades. If it takes longer than that I may need to use some less desirable methods. In the heart of the floating city Agars, two people can be seen playing chess. These two are Cain and Ajuka. It can be seen that currently it seems Ajuka is in advantage, but the game is still ongoing. So what are your thoughts about getting the devil population up? Cain said while moving his queen. Ajuka replied after moving his rook. I am researching some ways but none are currently successful. Cain checked Ajuka's king using his bishop, making him sacrifice his knight. You know, if people wear dresses like chess pieces then we can play human chess. Like we can be the king and the others a piece who must follow our order. But most importantly it will be much more interesting if they had some autonomy. Cain said this and checked Ajuka's king, this time with a pawn. But Ajuka, instead of playing a move, snapped his head towards Cain and said, "You are a genius, Cain," and went running towards his laboratory. Hey, at least make your move. I resign, I was gonna lose after my next move anyways. So he saw it, looks like he really is a smart guy. By using a long-ass chess game, Cain had managed to reduce the time it would have taken Ajuka to create the evil pieces and the peerage system. Well, that is one thing taken care of. Saying that, Cain went back to castle and started preparing for the Ars Goetia that will be held tomorrow. He needs to attend the starting few of them. After that Ziera will attend them in his stead. But he needs to give some important orders tomorrow, so he is personally going there. Oh, the overseer still hasn't been decided. Need to find one. Now that Cain remembered it, he was a bit panicked. He hadn't even given it a thought. The overseer needs to be impartial and strong. These two traits are something that none of the devils have. After that, Cain went on to read books on devils, and in them only one devil he was able to find fit the bill, and that was the legendary devil, Mephistopheles. But he had left the underworld and went to become the chairman of the organization Graubazer. And Cain didn't really want to meet him. I remember giving myself as a evil magician of a string organization in the Vatican. If he figures that out, he isn't gonna listen to me. Well, I didn't explicitly say Graubazer, so I will be fine. And thus Cain went to meet the first devil, who made a pact with a human named Faust, who went on to become a great magician later. Currently Cain was somewhere in the dimensional gap trying to find the entrance to Graubazer. The place itself wasn't in the dimensional gap, but the entrance was. It was something created by Faust and Mephisto both. Cain wasn't a prodigy in magic, so he needed to find it. He can force his way through if he's serious, but he is going for hiring someone, not murdering. Dimensional gap is something like the base of the entire world, and everything else is like a layer on top of it. And the dimensional gap resonates heavily to ambitions, desires, and ideals. This was the reason why beings with strong ambition, big desires, and strong ideals were powerful. The dimensional gap itself helped them. This was also the reason that a certain boob-loving future sex offender was able to become so strong in such a short time. After all, his desire for boobs and harem was very high. Cain was also doing this. He was strongly desiring the entrance to Graubazer, hoping the dimensional gap will take him there. And he wasn't disappointed. Although it was also due to him being strong, and the wish isn't being too big, or else it will take much more desire and ambition. Simply the principle of equivalent exchange. The greater your passion, the bigger you will get your wish or strength. Finding the hidden entrance, Cain entered only to find a middle-aged man with gelled hair, which was a mixture of red and blue, having heterochromia. His left eye is blue, while the right is red. He was also giving out a mysterious atmosphere similar to that of Ajuka. The power that he could sense was that in the Satan class. No wonder he was able to go independent from the previous Satans. You need to have at least that much strength. But his combat power must be higher, not in the super devil level but still high. Devil magic is very versatile after all, especially if used by a first-gen devil who has a shit ton of experience. Cain landed in front of him and stared at him. Seeing Cain stare at him like that, Mephistopheles muttered in an annoyed voice like that of a frustrated old man. Like one Lucifer wasn't enough, that another came to me again. Looks like my dear father caused him some serious trouble. Time to negotiate with a devil who appears in human stories more than stories he has about himself.